What's up, guys? Welcome to GuildGab episode 90. This is a show all about Guild Wars 2, and today we're talking about the Path of Fire expansion coming on September 22nd. This is super hype, guys, and I'm super excited to talk all about it with my good friends, MMOINKS, Corvus Plays, and our special guest today, Jebro! What's up, dude? Thank you so much for joining us.
I can't do Jens. I was trying to do Jens first, but
I know
work.
it's...
I'm not sure where my area is. Oh, it's the whole area. That's
You're
amazing.
the whole
you
area.
Might see a corgi. You might see my corgi suddenly dart behind me. And
well, if I can put corgi in the YouTube tags, then that's great. We'll get more views.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true, actually. Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
So, last Tuesday was the expansion reveal for the second Guild Wars 2 expansion, Path of Fire, and super content expansion. This is a content expansion. They're bringing us bigger maps than have ever been included in the game before, mounts, brand new mount system, new elite specializations, and just so much more. What was the number one thing that each of you are most hyped about? Most excited to get your hands on the maps.
The maps. And I don't know, usually like with Hearthorns, the maps look cool. I'm not that big a fan of jungle settings, but I'm also not that big a fan of desert settings. So with Hearthorns, I was really hyped about...
I don't like nature.
I was really hyped about the elite spec last night. Especially Reaper was just like my perfect elite spec, so I was really hyped last time. But this time the maps have just destroyed everything else. And seeing like your gameplay video and stuff, it's crazy. It feels like a single player game to me, honestly. Like, and obviously you're on a client with like hardly any people playing, but like just the detail, like the kind of footsteps, the really ambient audio stuff, like it's so immersive, man. I'm so hyped for it.
They really upped their game. They really upped their game. I mean, running around in the environment, and everybody's going to get a chance to experience this on the 11th. That's the PvE demo, the first story instance, the open world map. Of course, only a section of the first map. You've got that Crystal Oasis city, which is just unbelievably gorgeous. I mean, I spent most of my time just literally looking at like walls because I was so I mean, the walls were gorgeous. It's absolutely incredible, and all the little detail everywhere is just mind-blowing to me. And I'm not usually someone who, who goes crazy about the environment. I'm more about, my own classes, gameplay, and everything. And I appreciate the environments, but I just felt like I was sucked in by just like the beauty of these maps. It was just they're incredible. They really upped their game. Of course, that also means some people are going to have to up their computers, I think, in order to play this.
Oh, God. Well, you'll have to upgrade to an 8800 GTX graphics card. I mean, that thing's only 10 years old or so. I think most people will probably be okay.
Fine. What'd you like, Inks? What impressed you the most?
I think the elite specializations really get me the most excited, just because there's a lot of different play potential there. It's going to change up what we're used to playing in content, in open world, fractals, raids, etc. So, I think that the elite specializations have me the most excited.
Yeah. Which one in particular is your favorite?
Well, I mean, I play Ranger, so Soul Beast, eating my pet and consuming his spirit really appeals to me. Wow. Can finally get rid of that bear. That damn bear who's been
You're
harassing
gonna play
me for
bear
5
bow
years.
just so you can consume the bear.
Yep.
You're gonna eat mowers.
He's been giving me that silly grin for 5 years, and I've had enough of it, so it's going away. Tired of that bear.
So instead of deleting characters, you can now delete pets.
I can now delete my pets. You were delicious, Bristleback.
What about you, Jeb?
You need your Bristleback. I mean, it's elite specs and the theory crafting behind that. Like, it's really. I mean, it's. There are a couple of things. I mean, I in-depthly went over the 3 or 4 specializations last night. I think we had like over 100 viewers. So it's like Wooden Potatoes in there, a ton of other streamers, and we were just talking about it and looking at it, and that reminded me again of what I've missed so much since the last expansion and since balance patches in general. is looking at, and not necessarily being right about it, because, you know, you're going to get those top end people in PvP who, you know, they need to know and they need to be right about everything, and being right is very important. Whereas I'm just like speculating about it, and just like Inks kind of is, and other guys as well, where you're just like, oh, this could be quite cool in this situation. It might not be ever happen, but you know, I can play it for a bit. And, you know, it reminds me of beta, because beta of Guild Wars 2 is one of the best times I had in Guild Wars 2, actually. I know that might sound bad, but it's not, because people don't know what is the norm. People don't know what is happening at all. World v World is World v World's true World v World was beta. Like beta was just amazing. There was like, everyone was everywhere. Every siege was everywhere, and it was like a true battle. So, you know, all that kind of thing really gets me excited. I mean, I still haven't gone through them all in depthly, so I don't actually know much about the other ones. So I've got about 4 or 5 done. Richie let me use his footage as well, so I went through that. And on the 2 tooltips, people, there it is. It's just sitting there. That's like the perfect. Well done, mate. Well, you sorted that out. He's just got back from his walk. But yeah, elite specializations.
And mounts. I think that's mounts. Yeah, of course. I think it's always such a refreshing time around that expansion, just because it's kind of the unknown for a while. You know, it's like the Wild West of no one's really, there's not like a meta set in stone yet. You know, everyone's kind of experimenting and making their own stuff up, and it's I love that kind of everyone rushing in on the first day, and it's just like it's crazy. It's so good.
That's going to be the second test. That is. Second test is the mist is going to be more packed than you've ever seen.
Yeah, that's going to be.
They've said that. The second test is going to be PvP. You can use all the elite strengths. They've told us in different places.
Because you weren't in that demo, you weren't able to play any of the new elite specs, were you, Peachy?
No, not in the open world demo. So there's 2 demos coming. The one on the 11th is not the elite specs. Everyone's going to rage about that. Demo on the 11th, and they're going to, you know, be expected to be able to use the elite specs. That's the first story instance and the open world, that the small section of the first map. And when I say small, it's still huge. And because these maps are going to be insanely massive. I don't think people even, you know, they can't even comprehend 5 maps. No. What? Like, no, you don't understand. These are.
Well, I've heard people saying that massive. Like the region on the map they've worked out is like bigger than all of Hearthorn's and the season 3 maps combined. Like,
yeah.
Are they talking about like, you know, in terms of the size? Because like I'm watching your video now, and I've watched a little bit before, but in your experience, it was flatter. Right, so there wasn't the levels. I don't think we're gonna see another Tangled Depths.
I think we'll see some ups and some downs, but I don't think we're gonna see, you know, we're not gonna get another Verdict Break or Tangled Depths. Yeah, me too. Like I try not to go to Tangled Depths, and I think they learned from that, and hopefully they learned from the episode 5 map too, which is great. It's a great map, but unless you spend a lot of time there, it can be very, very confusing to get around. And so I'm hoping that they steer away from that. At least that.
Well, they did say like in the video that there would be some twisting paths, you know, going over, going under, that kind of thing. And at the heart, for me, my original experience with Guild Wars 2 anyway, the heart of the experience initially is about that exploration. And Heart of Thorns definitely had that in certain aspects, especially in a more like a 3D playable aspect, learning how to glide and figuring that stuff out. But it feels like we're getting more back to basics, except taking the maps and expanding them 2-3 times as long. Yeah. And I know that there's some concern about how full those maps are going to be. And don't forget, you're going to be on a mount, so even though the maps are much, much larger, yes, that will diminish a little bit, but there's still going to be tons of opportunity for exploration and hidden alcoves and caves, and the devs even talk directly about that in the video, where they mention like, you know, these caves and stuff that might be hidden in the desert, which is exciting to me.
That's the point of the mounts, is they give you abilities to explore these caves that you otherwise couldn't get to, using the jackal to like shadow step across long distances, using, you know, the springer to get up really high, which I guess if you have the springer, there is gonna be some verticality to the maps, but you can make verticality and not make confusion.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Yeah,
they
for sure.
strike a good
Yeah,
balance
it
there.
could just be like a side up, like a way up the side of a mountain, rather than oh crap, there's
Where the hell is like a
stuff.
maze? Yeah.
Yeah.
Apart from, I was trying not to swear there. There's loads of brambles and all this stuff, and there's different ways I can go, and I can see this, but which level is it on? Is it on the second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
It
was
kind of looks
that
like
was
it
it. It was
is.
the mini map that was like the main enemy of
Yeah.
Hawthorne. But like I think people need to remember as well that people were asking for this. There was a lot of feedback, and a lot of my feedback was this as well, that there was too much of a meta focus in the Heart of Thorns map. They're kind of, obviously you're exploring it, but it was so anti-exploration in terms of how hard the mobs were hitting, how dense the mobs were, and stuff like that. That we're actually going to be able to explore this new area and really take it in. And obviously the game's about content density, but I think the map that we've seen so far, it's the introduction map. It's gonna be a bit more tame. I think actually Heart of Thorns having Verdant Brink first and have it be that intense. Like obviously it set the story fine, but for an introduction, I think especially when you're in a brand new region, you want that you want to be eased into it.
And
I
for
think
some
that this is
people,
perfect.
that's like the start of the game, because if they're just hearing about Guild Wars 2 and they get that level boost and they get to 80. Some people are just walking into Heart of Thorns. They're not actually playing the rest of the game, because they're just like, boom, there's my thing with the pack, and it's the same now. So they need to make it easier for people to get into.
Because I mean, a new player coming in, going straight into Verdant Brink.
Oh,
like,
Jesus.
They're
Well,
just like,
let's-
delete character, I am MMOINKS. It's like, I'm just going to delete this character before I even get involved. And then I'm just going to like not play the game. At least they paid the money, I suppose. But they don't buy the things further down the line. But it's I mean, when I go into the maps now, it's funny because it's almost like I'm a new player again, because obviously I PvP'd for a long time, and I would go into the maps. I completed the maps and I did the PvE stuff, and I did what I needed to do for just to have fun and play the expansion, because I'm still an MMO player. I was an MMO player before I got into PvP, probably as much as I did. And now I'm actually exploring them and properly, because I'm farming for my legendary armor. And then they announced PvP legendary armor. But I want the look. So I'm truly understanding the pain of Dragon Stand events and doing that over and over again, and realizing that it takes a long time to do. But I've been streaming it, and it's just been fun, and it's been something different. And the other events like Tangled Depths, doing the Czech Garen, doing all the other events in the other areas like Verdant Brink, and they're actually like, after a while I've got used to the maps, but that doesn't mean that it's good for a new player coming in to be like, I've got levels to navigate, because I still like to just have my map and I know where I am, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, oh, I'm on a different level on the map and I'm kind of confused. So I think it's good. I mean, the one thing I wanted to know from you, Peachy, was that how did you feel like running around on a mount in Guild Wars 2? Like, I know mounts are exciting, but like, it's Guild Wars 2, right?
Right.
Like, and I think I'm not sure Wooden Potatoes likes the idea of mounts. That's the feeling I get. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Don't believe me. That's the one. But the general feeling is like, from some people, is like, maybe mounts shouldn't be in Guild Wars.
Like, this is, well, I know for a long time people have said, we don't want mounts, for all the reasons people don't want mounts, but then there's people who do want mounts. So, to each his own. But I think you really have to reserve judgment for when you actually feel it, play it, see how ArenaNet does it. ArenaNet's always done things differently. They've always catered it to their game and to their player base, and not just done the standard. And to me, even though I only got to play the Raptor, it felt good, but it was this little bit, like, you're right. You're like, this is Guild Wars 2? This is, this is crazy. Like, I'm riding a Raptor. I'm riding something, this is so weird. But it felt really good. I think the other mounts are also going to feel really good. They've taken so much care to make them to put very heavy amounts of animation on them so that they really feel alive. They, even your stopping and starting animation, if you look at the starting animation, if you go from, a standstill to starting to move with the raptor. It doesn't just start running. Like, it has this like lumbering, you know, and then it starts going. The animation is so like well done that and each one is going to have that unique feel. You're going to feel like you're on this animal. You're not just controlling your character that's, you know, looks like it's on something. The feel of it is completely different. And it's
So
good.
can I share the video? Because I've got the moment like where you start running around. I've got your video up. So do you mind if I share it in your chat?
Sure.
'Cause it's quite good like to look at it while it's like, because it's really nice. Like the animation is ridiculously good.
Yeah.
Like they've added loads of mechanics and loads of different animations and styles from maybe employing different people, and obviously the game developing over years. They've got these new things that they've introduced, and it looks really good. I mean, just getting onto your mount is something that I've not really seen before, because it kind of almost pulls out the ground, right?
It does. There's all these sparkly things. It's kind of like a magical. Yeah, that's not the getting on it. I could see it. People saying, "Oh, that's ruining my immersion," because it just kind of materializes out of nowhere. But even that feels good, and it's almost instant. It's not like, you know, I heard someone say, "Oh, it takes like 2 seconds to get on your mount." No, it really doesn't. It feels, when you're in the game playing it feels like it's instant. You're on it and you're ready to go.
So a couple of points. First off, hats off to ArenaNet. And I don't think people have truly realized this yet, but one of the complaints about Heart of Thorns and gliding was that you just got your glider. You didn't build it, you didn't find it, you didn't do any of that. But we've already seen from Peachy's footage and Bug and WP, getting the raptor is part of the story.
Yeah.
You play through the story, you rescue him, you put the fires out, and then you get your mount, right? There's a reason you get him. It's not, you learned a mastery, here's a magic mount raptor that you just summon. No, he's part of the story. So, you know, I think that's a big nod to ArenaNet, because they didn't do that with Heart of Thorns, and people criticized, like, why do I just have a glider? Just because? Like, I didn't find it, I didn't build it, I didn't do anything. All I did was level a mastery. And this is part of the story, which is really important. And sort of addressing what Jebro said about WP, I do remember him saying that, you know, he wasn't necessarily a big, you know, really against mounts necessarily, but of course he questioned their, you know, why they would be important, or why you would need them, or would it really help the game. And after having played it and talked with the devs and having that experience, I feel like that they've flipped his perspective on it, changed his mind on it, because of the way it's not just a mount for decoration. Yes, it is that to some minor extent, and you can dye it and it, whatever, it's going to be pretty nice that way. But it's the way that they have taken it's a lot like if you think about Draconis Mons and the Vine Grab, which everybody loves, right? They've taken this object, this vehicle, so to speak, and they've designed the game, the environment, and the map around it. And they have designed the abilities around, you know, the map is designed around their abilities as well. So that the raptor has its moments to shine, so that the bunny, stupid bunny, so that the bunny can jump up to special plateaus, so that the skimmer can cheat across water and give a little hover hop to get back on land, so it's a seamless transition.
Do you think that's true though? I'm not sure that. I mean, I would like to believe you in terms of thinking that they might design maps around mounts to a degree. I think that their philosophy of changing to a flatter experience means that they can include things like that easier.
Sure. I mean, I don't mean to say, like, you know, they designed mounts and then they designed the maps. No, obviously not. They designed the maps, and then when mounts came in, they said, okay, let's change these aspects so that they can really shine in these environments. And yes, you're going to be able to use mounts all over Tyria. You can use it in Heart of Thorns. You can use it in Central Tyria.
That's very cool.
And that will give you a particular experience, but they will really shine in those new maps. Sort of like gliding to some extent.
Can you go from like your glider almost instantly into a mount? Did you try that?
I don't know. I think you might have to land first and then deploy.
Yeah, you probably do.
Yeah, I'm not sure
My
how
80s
seamless that
dreams,
is.
That would be, you know what I mean, when you're a kid and you're watching it, you're like, I don't know, you know what I mean, just going from one thing to the other. And you're just like,
I know if you jump off the cliff, if you jump off a cliff on a mountain fall, I think you're supposed to, you take some falling damage, and if you have like a trait that something happens to, you know, like a skill goes off whenever you land to like help, you know, break your fall, that goes off and you come off your mount. But you know, where you would die normally if you're on your mount, you won't die from taking that really long fall unless it's ridiculous, a ridiculous fall. I would assume. But then you can just get right back on your mount.
Yeah,
like there's not even a cooldown.
Right.
I think the difference here is that in most MMOs, you know, mounts are put in just to speed you up, essentially, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, the maps are huge and everyone walks so slowly, so here you go. This will just, and the animations, and every mount's kind of the same. It's just a different skin, right? Like there's not usually that much of a mechanical difference until flying mounts come in or something.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just a cosmetic speed boost.
Yeah, exactly. But what I like what they've done here is that each of them has a role to play, right? Like, there's a mechanical reason to take them and to have them in the game, and it's not like in most MMOs, you know, there's like 100 different mounts you can get, but everyone only uses one, which is like their favorite because it's just a cosmetic thing. What we've got now is that everyone who plays it is actually going to use every mount pretty regularly because there's a reason to use each mount and change the mounts. You know, I want to jump over this, so I'm going to take the raptor. You know. And it's a kind of it's not the same as, I think everyone who's been saying they didn't want MMOs, and I was one of them, mounts, sorry, are thinking of other MMOs. Yeah. And the roles they play there. And I don't think ArenaNet's the company that would put something like that in the game unless they had a way to make it really unique, like you were saying, but also just to make it fit the game. Like, they're not just going to throw stuff in that every other MMO does just because.
The Jackal one is just, I think that design idea is just.
I'm really excited to get on that and try
I feel
it
like
out.
That's going to become like the one everyone uses, though. That's like everyone's favorite.
It's so good. I know, but you don't want it to be, right? You're just like, I really want to use that one, but everyone's going to be used. It's got a blink, you know? The fact that these runes keep this sand together in the what shape
so cool.
it is.
It's so cool.
How good is that? Like, does that mean that they can create more easily and they can be like, well, you know, on this one wants to be a jackal, but this one wants to be a potato. I don't know.
Yeah, they can actually, you can change the form of the sand or whatever. That's pretty cool.
Mutate them. I mean, you know, it could mutate into something that could climb a wall. I mean, I don't know.
That'd be so cool.
Pretty cool, right? I mean, how good is that as an idea? And the skimmer being like those individual things that make them. Sure. Yeah, that you can go over top of water, right? I mean, that's the thing you can do. Yeah. And that's so cool. Like the raptor is that lengthily jump, so it helps with like jumping puzzles or whatever. Or not jumping puzzles, sorry. Scaling land or whatever. And then you've got the bunny that can just jump really high. And I do definitely want to ask someone about how they feel about a char mounting a bunny.
If we can get armor for it or something, you know, it'll make it feel a bit better.
I seen somebody say, I was watching Peachy, I think yesterday, and someone was like, a char on a horse? That sounds ridiculous. And I'm like, but a char on a rabbit seems perfectly normal.
A giant rabbit.
That's true.
If we did get horses, it would be some kind of like war horse. So that a char wouldn't look ridiculous.
I want a Aura bunny, though. That'd be cooler.
I mean, let's be real. I think most of us want a char car. We get in a little car and whatever, but, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've seen those. I mean, everyone's talking about those for potential for World v World, like the war. What if they're called?
Well, the thing you have to remember about mounts, as far as, like, people saying we don't want mounts, it makes the world feel smaller. When you get on, like, the Raptor, it's not like suddenly you're moving at 10 times the speed. You're not. You're only moving slightly faster. And you might be able to upgrade that. Like you're only seeing in the footage it's not fully upgraded through the mastery system. It's just at that first, opening level. So you might be able to upgrade it and make it move faster. I forget what all the specific upgrades are. I know it's like it makes its jump longer and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not like suddenly you can get from one end of this giant map to the other in 30 seconds. Like, that's not how it is. It's more about different ways to traverse the terrain than simply speed.
But this
And
is
you
like
can't just hit things with it. Like you can't just be like, I'm going to stay on my mountain in combat forever.
No, if you
hit
get in,
once
if you get
and
in
then
combat, basically when you're on your mount, you have your one skill changes to like a combat skill. So then if you do come upon an enemy, you can just push one like your auto attack, like you would. And it feels very fluid. In the Raptor's case, it'll do a tail spin, which will do significant damage to everybody, but it gets that one attack, and it's doing that attack as you're coming off the Raptor. So then as soon as that attack's done, you are swinging your sword or whatever. So it's very fluid.
Sorry.
Feels really
Colin
good.
Just
Colin
swinging
swinging
sword.
no swinging swords in Guild Wars, guys. But, the skimmer I'm really excited for because that just kind of seems to seamlessly go over water and like the quicksand.
That's gonna be so cool.
And I'm excited to go back to places like Ore, you know, where the land mass is like annoying as hell to get through. Or you could swim, but it's slow as hell. And just being able to cruise across the water, avoiding all of the mobs and stuff, like that's gonna be
get cool
cool
screenshots and stuff.
It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I didn't think about that.
And
it's gonna make worlds completion a lot easier.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no swimming everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how fast the mounts move, but it doesn't. I think if you're running with like super speed on or something, it's probably going to be pretty comparable.
Yeah.
It's not. It's going to be like. It's going to mean you don't have to spam swiftness everywhere. It means you're not going to have to run, you know, a signet that boosts your speed or anything.
And then
like
if you
that.
use the Raptor's, you know, jump jump ability, then you're gonna get that little.
I have a question about that actually.
Yeah.
What was the keybind for that? Because it looked like the dodge button. Spacebar.
Yeah.
So there's no normal jump.
I'm almost sure.
No, there is.
No. Wait. Okay, I'm wrong.
Wasn't it one?
Because I saw people when they were doing.
Gosh,
when
I
they were
forget.
Doing the jump, their endurance went down
But
a little
he
bit.
said
Yeah.
that you could. Didn't Roy said there would be more
down
abilities?
spacebar? Gosh, I can't remember.
He said there'd be more abilities. Like it was right at the end of the bar. It wasn't right in the middle. So it makes me think that it's one or weapon swap. Because if, in a way it's a swap to something. I mean, I can watch a couple.
Whatever all I can tell you is whatever it was very fluid. I think it was like holding down spacebar, like just pressing spacebar, but holding it down makes you jump for it. Gosh, I can't remember. I apologize. I'm so sorry, guys, that I can't remember. I feel like stupid, but
it doesn't matter.
It felt really, really good. That's all I can tell you. Like it was very fluid. It felt natural. It wasn't like I'm trying to hit Q or P to use my leap ability.
Because obviously you have a normal jump on the Raptor. I think.
Yes, you do.
Because you can see
Corvus is just like, I just want to know, can it jump?
Tell me all the
keybands. I want to know that I can jump on stuff. I can jump off.
I noticed that it looked like there was a new animation for if you were like jumping over a fence. It looked like the Raptor would like hop on the fence and then jump up. I don't know if that's a cool animation thing or if if that's intentional. Every single one of your jumps landed perfectly on the fence.
Right.
I'm not sure.
I don't think there's dodging on a mount.
It was like jumping over a hurdle. No, but I just wasn't sure if it'd be like the same keybind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it might be. It might be. I didn't have my keybinds. I didn't have my mouse, my anything. So like everything, even with like being uncomfortable with the hardware that I had to use, it still felt very natural. So it's good. That's cool. We'll see next Friday.
Really
good. Yeah, of course we will.
We can actually use them out then. God, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hype. Awesome.
I think too, Aurora, that it might be important to maybe tell people a little bit about, I've seen sort of a lot of people like, why didn't you do this while you were there? Why didn't you do that? Or why didn't you, I don't think people quite understand the situation that you're placed in when you sit down to play a demo in a closed event or something like that.
Right. Yeah, it's, ideally, you get, just put in a little room and you can concentrate and do whatever you want to do. But there's a time limit. There's developers standing all around the room watching you. It's very intimidating. You're on a strange computer. I didn't have like I said, my mouse or my keybinds. You've got developers literally sitting next to you, hovering over you, telling you, asking you about things and telling you, oh, check this out.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. No, oh my gosh. And this, we're going to change that. Or this, they're telling you stories and they are as hype as you are. And there's just so so many things going on. So it's like, you know, it's not like at home where I can just take my time and, you know, let's make sure everything's ready and everything. Like, and, you know, all of that's going on and you're on a time limit. So it's, you know, there's a lot of pressure while you're there, you know. Don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful experience, but, you know, it's so the technical things and technical flubs will happen because of all of those factors combined.
Plus, it was before the reveal, so you're not sure what they're going to showcase or what they're not going to. So I guess, you know, kind of choosing what to focus on is kind of difficult as well when everything's so
really the main thing is always going to be is things like abilities, what they do, and flipping tooltips, because people are obsessed with them. That's what it is. That's all it is.
It's all going to be subject to change. I mean, I get
that's true. Yeah, it could all change anyway.
It doesn't. It's like the thing is that you can. I think you know, you do what you do with the time, and the time was fun. You know, you got what you did, and it's
and for your audience as well. You know,
yeah.
It's not like your audience is like pro PvP.
Right, exactly. If I was doing build videos and I was, you know, a buildomancer and a stat person, then heck yeah. And and here is a perfect example. Bog Otter. He went in with that mindset. He went in saying, all right, I'm going to log on to an elite spec. I am going to hover over every single tooltip for 4 seconds. I'm going to use the one skill, show that off, use the two. Like, he had it very formulaic. That's what he was going to do. He was going to get that content. And he did for 4 of the elite specs. He got phenomenal, you know, video and a demo of those. But there was no time because, as he said on his stream, there's developers coming by and they're talking to you and, you know, and you're going through methodically and they're going, oh, use this skill, show me this, I'll bring up the thing. So there's all this dev aggro, you know, and when he's trying to, even if you truly go in with the mindset that I want to create this content, you can't, unless you, I mean, you're not going to tell a dev, no, don't talk to me right now. I'm hovering over tooltips.
I really want to show you this cool thing, Bug Otter. No, get away! I'm working.
I've got 5 elite specs left.
You should have brought your puppies. That's what you should have done.
Yeah, just distract them.
Here's a puppy. Oh,
yeah, pretty much. That works in most occasions. Yeah, no, I think you guys, you know, I mean.
So we did what we could with what we were given.
Yeah, people like with the last one, there was like so many people that there was no chance that there wasn't like some kind of way that some kind of footage was going to be taken. There was so many people.
And you guys are going to get to play it in like a week or two anyway. So which is incredible. I mean, we were not told the release date. We were not told. We actually weren't told about guild halls at all. Like, I asked someone and they're just like, I don't know. Like,
did you know the name?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We saw there's like a 1.5-minute trailer. I think on their YouTube it's called like announcement trailer or something. That was the only trailer. That's the only thing we saw. We didn't see that like 20-minute presentation. We only saw that 1.5-minute thing. So yeah, we were not told the release date. So that was why like I have my reaction video. That's why I genuinely reacted to the release date, because I did not think it was coming that soon.
Man,
that
I think everyone was so much
that floored me that it was coming in 7 weeks. That's insane.
That's pretty awesome.
That means, like, do you realize that means Living World Season 4 Episode 1 is coming before the end of the year? We're going to be in Season 4 before the end of the year. That's insane.
It's crazy. And I mean, I kind of felt stupid because I was so hopeful that it was going to be kind of early to mid-October if we were really lucky, thinking more closer to Halloween realistically. But I was a month off, you know, that's crazy. And everyone, you know, I said, like, I think maybe this, everyone was like, no, don't be stupid.
It
like,
was
Inks
pretty
especially.
Much it was the time frame they said, though. Like, I think Inks said, and I said as well, you know, like, I'm not sure if I don't want to put words in your mouth, sorry. But I said, like, last week is September, first week of October. That's when the Inks.
But they said, you know, it's going to be within the release dates of like 2 to 3 months, right?
So most said
July, the end of July, so that would think, okay, 2 months would be September, and then I think he hinted that it would be longer. Like the same kind of thing, but a bit longer. So that's why I was thinking October.
Yeah,
right. He said it would be slightly longer than like a normal Living Story release.
Right, because
just wrong,
of
dude.
expansion. You know, there's more things that go into releasing an expansion than just some free DLC.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There is. Oh my god!
If they were
What
just
is this
telling
game
us, they were
development
just
business?
telling us stories so that we would be shocked that it was coming out in September. Oh my
I quite
God.
like
Oh, that's
that
it.
though.
That's a good.
Like,
one.
I mean, I don't know. I know it's kind of teasy.
They
but,
learned
like, it's a kind of
lessons.
hint. You know, oh, it's gonna be.
learned
You know, it might be
lessons.
quite a while, and then
You're
oh
right.
no, it's next week.
But the thing is, like, isn't that like just? They've changed. They wanted to change it from last time. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, ArenaNet, the guys there, they know I love them to bits. I have friends there. I have close friends there, but they also know that they made maybe big mistakes in terms of what happened with Heart of Thorns. That's not. It's not like me bashing the game. It's not me bashing. You know, criticizing them as people. It's not being mean. Mistakes were made.
That
the
content
release-
drought was just so intense. before
it felt like you were literally in a desert, like trying to find water. And it was like,
And now we're going.
probably what this should have been. And you know, that's when they should have done that, because it would have made you feel more immersed. You'd be like, oh, this is what it feels like to get content. Oh god. Anyway, and then you finally get water, a mount, and all the other things, and the new elite specialization. And you can climb trees. I don't know. You know, it's pretty good. I mean, I think, you know, Mo's cadence, I mean, he always keeps saying, which in a way kind of winds me up, but in another way, you know, it makes some sense in what's happened, is the surprising and delighting thing, which I don't think works nowadays as well as it did 10 years ago. I think that's a very old school train of thought, and I don't think it's a healthy thought for the game. That's just my personal opinion. We're all allowed to have that. But at the same time, it worked with an announcement because you would have expected it to happen later, and because it's very soon. So that kind of way, that kind of thing can work, and it did work.
It's risky though, because it's like, you know, for all those years building up to that announcement, it's kind of hell for everyone because there's no communication. But then as soon as they do announce it, it's like, yes.
But now what happens as well is that people get blames for not capturing the right kind of stuff, because you've got like no time. There's nowhere else where you can get this, because there's no guild chat to go, you know, this week we're going to cover Hollowsmith, blah, 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 blah. By the way, the voiceover guy who did those trailers is
so
so
spot on, so
that guy
good.
is-
Yes.
Well, how do you do his voice? I don't know. It's really, really deep. It's just like so amazing.
It sounds like
Anyway,
the same
sorry.
guy that does the PvP announcements. It sounds
It's
like
a little
the
bit, yeah.
same guy. I'm not sure though.
I'm sorry. I just started to veer off. I'm really good. I'm trying to keep on topic nowadays, because I can veer
Well,
off.
from what you said,
Like,
Jebro,
oh, that's a
about
nice place.
surprising people, and you know, that's an old school way of thinking. You know, for how free information is given out nowadays. I think they can do that now, but the players they're building up. They're still, from Heart of Thorns, building up players' trust that yes, content is coming every 2 months.
Yeah.
Major content
They
drops
need
are
to
coming
tell
every 2
people.
months, plus other stuff sprinkled in between. And I think they're still recovering. People were wounded from the Heart of Thorns content drought,
definitely.
and so they're learning that, oh my gosh, they're serious. And I think they're proving this with Living World episode expansion, Living World episode in like, you know, 2 months. I think this is going to help prove to people that we're serious about releasing content. You know, huge content drop 6 times a year. And so I think they're slowly getting the players'
They
confidence
need that
back
middle
in
ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need the middle ground of like, you can't be like, you know, back in the day when video games came out and World of Warcraft, like you didn't have the resources to find out stuff. Like you didn't have, you know, Reddit as much as you do now. You don't have, you know, people being invited and trusted in influencer programs. You didn't have all this stuff, so you would have to rely, you know, so the surprising factor was there more often. But nowadays, and the way we are with the internet, social media, is that we want information. When something comes out, we need it, and we need to suck it up, and we need to get the next bit, you know, bite-sized information. That's the way the world works. And like, I think they just need to realize that at times.
Can you
Like,
remember-
need to
And
know
a lot of companies
what's
do a
going on.
kind of scheduling thing where you can kind of see where things are in development.
like
But
a
we're
map,
also
you know.
we're in the age of like early access, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
betas not really being betas and buying into things
Yeah,
early.
not
And
anymore.
I think
Betas and
everyone's
demo,
like 100% more impatient these days. I think
yeah.
audiences are just
Yeah,
a
no,
bit more,
agreed.
bit more impatient.
Agreed,
And there's very few companies that work. I think Bethesda do it quite a lot, where they'll announce something, you know, and then it's coming in just a few months. But the problem people don't realize is that you go on any forum these days, and it's people who've been complaining since 2011 when Skyrim came out for the next Elder Scrolls game, you know, because they don't have anything to feed off. They don't know anything that's being developed. And I think they hit a good balance in this. We knew they were working on expansion 2. We knew that they were going to do this season, and we know that they're going to do season 4 after.
Yeah.
We're not in that kind of blind stage of, you know, even a couple months before Heart of Thorns, where we were kind of waiting for the expansion, but we didn't know what was happening afterwards, and it ended up being another content drought right afterwards as well. So I think we're in a perfect place. I think there's certain things that they could communicate better. I do actually. At the start, I didn't really like this. I liked the fact that, you know, under Colin, they were a lot more vocal about what they wanted to do. But I think actually, I mean, Legendary Weapons was like the last broken promise, but it didn't. We ended up still getting them anyway.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a nice safe place at the moment.
Yeah. Like,
Do you remember getting that issue of Nintendo Power once a month, and you just hope they covered a game you liked?
Man,
Yeah.
yes.
You read it, you know,
Kids
cover
these
to
days are
cover,
so lucky.
50 billion times.
Yes.
Back in my day.
I miss those days, man.
I had Nintendo Power.
I really
miss
do.
Those were good
It's
times.
like, I remember getting Games Master magazine, watching Games Master once a week. Back in the UK, this is the UK.
Games Master was good.
Games Master was awesome. I mean, we had Patrick thingy, the astronomer. Oh god, I can't remember.
Patrick Moore.
Patrick Moore. You guys know who Patrick Moore is? He's a famous world-like astronomer, and he played this Games Master, and he basically people would come in and play games, and it was just this show that was on once a week, like 6 times a year or something stupid. And you'd just be like, "Oh my god, it's once a week!" And now you can just go everywhere, and you can watch
and just get gaming.
you know, tens and tens of videos on one thing.
Yeah.
And it's like
things that are happening at conventions.
The world
watch
has
it
changed
live.
so much.
Yeah.
And now, like,
Nostalgia
that's
grab.
what people need. And we've all changed. We've all evolved with that in one way or another. Like, we still like the old school way, but now, you know, if someone else knows, we kind of want to know as well, you know?
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like we look back on stuff like that fondly, but if the world was to swap back, it'd be
Oh my
horrible.
god,
It would be
can you imagine
terrible.
if people now had that to wait
That's
that long?
nostalgia
Jesus.
for you.
You know, we're all like, some of us
ArenaNet
are
will send
elderly.
you an email once a month that tells that, you know, gives you a
Like-
couple of blurbs and says, "Hey, check out Draconis Mons from last month, guys. It's really cool. These are all the spots that orchids can spawn."
You need to get a little video of Inks just doing that now. Like a little animated character.
I gotta
Really?
say the weekly blog posts leading up to Heart of Thorns were super exciting though.
Yeah,
I-
it was
Yeah.
good for us, man.
Yeah.
Like for content creation, if you had a set schedule of cool, we can do this every week, and there's always something to talk about, and there's going to be an audience for it every week. And I hope they kind of go. I mean, I don't know. We've got the demo so soon, so really, do they
Yeah.
need to do anything like that?
I really don't think they're going to. I think what we might get is some of the lore stuff, like how we got the blog post about the lore behind the Exalted before Heart of Thorns even came out, which I think was a mistake.
Yeah,
to
I
tell
don't
us
really want
who
that.
the Exalted are before
100% a mistake.
it even
Not
came
I mean,
out.
we
before.
said that like when they
Yeah.
announced. It
Yeah,
was,
not before.
Right.
Because they released those things like what, a week before launch or 2 weeks
Yeah.
before launch, whatever it was, and I'm like, it's gonna launch and then I'll find out. Don't
Yeah, why are
tell me
you
before I get in
spoiling
there.
stuff for me? So I could see maybe like talking about something that's not directly story related, like the environments or something. Let's talk about know the area where Palo Ajoko is. Let's talk about the
they could even do a
undead.
little backstory on him for those that didn't play Nightfall.
Yeah, backstories would be great. I mean,
I would love that,
Mike Z did say
personally.
right in there, he's like, it's okay if you didn't, we're going back to a lot of Guild Wars 1 stories, we're bringing back characters, but you don't need to have played Guild Wars 1, we're going to catch you
Okay.
up
That
through
was
the
the
story, we're
question I
going to
was gonna ask
explain
you
to you.
guys.
I just hope it's not so extremely hidden that players don't find it. Like, for example, in episode 6, they told you tons about the Shining Blade and, the history behind it, the people involved, but you had to go look for it. You really had to go look for it, and it was actually like
I like how
a collection.
it was the same with the whole Livia reveal as well.
Right.
They didn't say I am Livia. I did all of this stuff, and this is like my whole story.
Right.
They just kind of revealed her as her. And I kind of like that. It's not I think it's kind of patronizing if you're just handed exposition like that.
You have to do it right. You have to do it right. You have to strike that
It's
balance
hard.
between not having paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of stuff right in the story,
Yeah.
but the information was there. I really like that they put those books about the Shining Blade if you wanted to go find them. I just hope that kind of stuff isn't like too hidden for players who don't know, they don't know who Paolo Ajoko is, or you do, but you need a refresher. Like I certainly need a refresher on everything
Depends
that
if there are
he did,
achievements
you
or
know.
not.
So yeah,
Well, lore books, yeah, like the collection achievements, like that's been a way they've been handling this stuff really well. You know, having that optional lore to go and collect everywhere.
Do they supply it? Like, could it be something where, you know, I mean, there's always something, and I've always thought about doing this, because like being a complete, because the story I enjoy the story of Guild Wars 2, but I don't know anything about Guild Wars. Like, I don't know anything about the original game. So I came in at Guild Wars 2 and like everyone's already like, oh, there's this, that, the other, you know, this guy's doing this, there's Livia, and I'm like, who's Livia?
yeah.
I've
Who
just
are
seen her
these
for the first
people?
time. She's like, you know, I mean, I can't really connect to this person because I don't know who the hell she is. And then it's like, okay, so what things that I thought as well was like, you know, for someone who, if you're very casual as well and you're not like hardcore into Guild Wars 2, which would probably be, you know, a lot of people who play the game, and where they need to focus on, as you know, some of their audience as well, because Guild Wars 2 is casual, is the fact that, you know, having recaps for an episode, previous episode, last time on blah blah blah, you know, those little tiny things, even if it's like a minute video, and it might seem kind of cheesy, but it would really help people like me. And even if it was just like something like an article, you know, the week before it was announced, like which I know it would give the story away, but just, you know, something that maybe came along with the episode, even that could be like, do you remember Livia in Guild Wars, or do you remember this person and the history behind them? And I would be like, oh, okay, cool, you know, I understand a bit of that background.
Just like a way for people to catch up. It would be actually what I'd like is like a wee cutscene that just kind of covered the story of Nightfall or something like that. And all
that
that
would be
stuff.
amazing.
Like,
yeah.
like
Just
even if they just
something
uploaded that to their YouTube, even, you know, just as
there
some
needs to be an
promotional
NPC
material.
in game that you come across that you talk to that is
like the season one,
like a historian, and they're like, let me tell you the story of Abaddon and Cormyr, you know. And then there's like you said, like even just like a 1 or 2 minute little trailer, a little recap of the most important story points that are coming up. It's kind of like how a TV show will do, you know, previously on, and then it'll show something from like last season, and you're like, why are they showing me this? But then it comes up in that episode, and you're like, oh yeah. Yeah, so I think they need to do something like that.
Last time on Guild Wars 2, Gritlock goes to jail and Tawny breaks the laws of physics.
Oh my gosh.
2 elder dragons fall asleep. Ready for Lazarus.
Fox said there was something about like stuff, but the thing is, mate, I don't want to go around and look for little books. I'm not that kind of player.
Well, you don't have to.
How dare you?
That's why
look
that's
for
why I
books,
said they
dang
have to
it.
strike the right balance, because there's people
Yeah.
there's people who are gonna want to go super crazy,
do
insane, deep into the lore, but you don't want to put that much lore in front of people who don't really care about it that much.
It's
So like
hard
I
for
said,
them.
you need to make the most important big story points that are relevant to what you're going to be forced to play. They need to make that very in your face, but and then have those lore books. I think the lore books is great for going super deep into
that's fine.
into stuff for people who like that. So Guild Wars 2 has always been about catering to every player type, whether you are casual or hardcore, about mechanics, casual or hardcore, about lore, about whatever. Guild Wars 2 has always done a good job of catering to every player style, whatever you choose to be, however you choose to play the game, you can. So and so I hope that they just continue to improve on that balance. It's very hard, and kudos to everything that they do.
It's different, yeah. It's a different way of doing it. I mean, there's never really been an MMO that's started out with that idea of things, I don't think. Because I mean, you can play any game the way you want to play it technically, but it's with the focus.
It's
of
like the
that.
core of the design, you know.
Yeah.
It's at the heart
I mean,
of the game, really.
With hearts, like you say, heart. You know, the whole heart thing. I mean, you know, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that interests me, how they're going to deal with that. And everyone assumes that because I'm a caster, a shoutcaster and everything as well, I'm just focused on PvP. Like, I've got over 20k achievement points. I've done all the raid
more
bosses.
than me.
I've done everything in the game. You know, yeah. I mean, I've got like more than like loads of people, and everyone's like, okay.
It's just
Maybe there's quite a lot of tunes. Yeah, and I'm
You're typecast, dude. Typecast.
I have been typecast, literally. Yeah, typecast board.
Gotta be careful with that.
It's the thing. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed like a lot of the game. The story is, I've always wanted to get more into the lore of it because obviously, you know, it's something that interests me, but it is a little bit more difficult. Just because I didn't play Guild Wars, and sometimes I'm like, I want to go and play Guild Wars, but I can't not jump. If I not jump in the game, I'm just gonna be sad. And it's just like I haven't got the time. I just don't have the time to go and play Guild Wars. I'm sorry. I've got so much.
I see a lot of people saying go to YouTube and watch it, which hey, that's fantastic if you're into that, and if you know, play Guild Wars 1, it's cheap and that's fantastic. But you know, I was gonna say as a developer. I'm not even a developer. Why the hell would I know? But you know,
secret developer on the Guild Wars 2.
As a developer that I've never been, let me tell you
develops an app
how
to
you should
characters.
develop. Yeah, but you want to add those things into the stock of your game. You don't. It's great that people can go outside and see extra resources, get extra deep detail, and play the original experience if they want to, because there's magic in that original experience.
Absolutely.
But you need to have you need to have that in the game as well, so it's seamless for people who don't want to do or don't have time for those things, or who just aren't interested in playing, let's say, Guild Wars 1. You know.
Yeah. And that's fine. So, but Mike Z said that there's going to be that experience.
Exactly.
They're going to. He said, if you haven't played it, if you don't know who these characters are, it's okay. We're gonna catch you up and let you know what you need to know. So.
I mean, I'm not like Chet. Please don't think that I'm hating on the game. I'm not hating on the game. All I'm saying is that it would be nice to have that because I'm interested in it, which is a positive thing rather than a negative. So it's not my laziness; it's the fact that I just wasn't involved. And if you want to get people involved in a new thing, you need to fill them in quickly and get them in there so they can enjoy it and spend money. And that's the way it is with a business. Like that's the important thing. Sorry. And some videos and messages randomly. So
well, let's move over and talk about the elite specs for a bit. Let's talk a little bit more in depth there, because I think everybody's excited. How can you not be excited for the changes to the class? I mean, there's the world you play in, there's the mechanics that you're going to get access to, but the core of how you play the game, how your combat style, that's important to everyone. So, what is each of your your favorite class, your favorite elite spec, and are you excited for what your favorite class is going to get, or you think you might switch to something else?
Yeah, that's actually the position I think I'm in. Like I've been meaning Necro for so long.
What?
Yeah. What? Right. So
dark and mysterious Corvus now goes over to
pink and butterflies.
Mirage. I was trying to think of something because. Yeah.
Well, it's true. No, I've been playing Necro for so long, and then the past few seasons in PvP, I've been playing a lot more Mesmer and really, really enjoying it.
Very intricate.
And so, and I think it's just how complex and kind of free form it can be. I really, really like that. And so, there's been a lot of people speculating. I think Wooden Potatoes and Boots did like those series where they would invent an elite spec idea.
Oh God, how much content has Boots got for the future? I shudder. I shudder when I think of the builds that are going to come up. I look forward to them as well.
He essentially came up with the Mirage, like that whole idea, and I loved that idea. And then when they revealed it, and it seemed to be that kind of you're playing with your opponent's mind. They're not sure which is which, and blending. I like tricking people. I like blending in, and pretending to be a clone and stuff like that. So
if anyone, I haven't looked in depthly. I'm waiting until I go in depthly in myself. I've got halfway through them. If you could do a rundown in like less than a minute, what would you say the Mirage is? Like, because people might not know. I know roughly.
Your dodge skill gets changed. You don't move when you dodge now. You just stand still and get the blur effect.
From Blur Frenzy.
Yeah, so you avoid damage, but you just don't move.
Nice.
It's also based all around clones instead of phantasms, so they all look like. When you dodge, you go. I can't remember what the name is. You go into kind of a mode where your first skill is changed, kind of like thief, like your stealth skills. So it's kind of powered up when you're in that mode, and when you go into that mode, all of your clones go into that mode as well. So you can kind of control when you can kind of control bursts by going into that mode, and then all of your clones attack. But it's the super version, right? Because they're all in that thing. So it's just all about tricking people. There's a lot of mechanics to do with like the kind of mirror things. You kind of spawn things. I'm not sure about that stuff, the utility stuff.
Yeah.
We haven't seen very much, but you're playing with people's minds, you know, and you get your axe 3 skill. All of your active clones, as you know, like anything you spawn, all of your like summons, they're constantly attacking that one target that you summoned them off. But what happens when you use your axe 3? All of your clones and you are teleported to that enemy and do a big burst, and their targets are then swapped to that. So you can now swap the clones' targets.
That's very cool.
So if you you know, like it was a problem, you know, if you accidentally summon something on like a ranger pet, you know, they're attacking the pet and not that guy, but now you can swap targets. So I don't know. It's cool. It's all.
That's really cool.
I love
That's
it.
very cool.
The dodge mechanic is what stood out to me most, because it was, you know, anytime you change a base mechanic like dodge, you know, that's huge. And just the fact that they don't have to stop their rotation to move if you have to dodge is huge. I think that's going to really...
So cool. And people are saying, you know, Lucas is saying that it's going to make it hard to dodge AoEs and traps because you're not moving out of it.
Right.
And that's true, but that's kind of the balance of it. You know, you have to play smarter. You know,
they can't make something just.
You can continue to move out of the traps. It's not like when you make a mirage, you're rooted in place. You know, it's just that if you're standing and attacking an enemy, you don't have to interrupt your cycle. The thing that I think would mess me up like majorly is like I use my dodge as a movement skill like a lot. Like I'm always dodging to move around faster. So I just plain don't think I could play Mirage just for that simple fact.
Yeah.
Why didn't I go anywhere?
Yeah. I like dodging. That's what I do. I
Exactly.
randomly dodge when I PvP. People know that because I just like to dodge. And it's a massive waste for me, like in PvP especially. But you know, I mean, yeah, that's cool. Sounds awesome. You know,
but cool. Obviously,
stuff.
I'm a Necro main, but the Scourge is looking really interesting. It looks really complex. It looks really complex. We're getting F1, 2, 3, 4 skills. And maybe an X5, I can't remember. You know, Necro's only had the Shrouds, you know, just that was the only F skill that we had. So it's going to be a lot more complex now, and I'm excited for that.
Corvus is like, I've got more things to press.
Yeah, basically.
Above this bar.
But it's also taking what seems to be a support role, which is very different to what I'm used to playing. I usually like damage, or I really like control. I love CCs. We've not really had a kind of pure control class or spec yet, so but it's going to be more support, with people saying that it's going to be quite good for con days, which is fine as well, but I'm not sure if I'm going to like that yet. But Mirage is like perfect for me, so I'm kind of still making my mind up.
The support aspect of it really sort of interests me, because a long time the criticism of Necromancer has been you don't bring anything to the party, right? You bring damage on a couple of fights. Epidemic is really, really good, but you don't bring anything for everybody else. You know, this class brings this, and that class gives us this, and that's why they're all included. But Necromancer didn't really give anything significant. So that's going to be really interesting for Necromancers, and I think it's going to make them feel, generally speaking, a lot more inclusive, depending on, you know, how that stuff really works and shakes out for them.
What does Inks like on one? We can't wait for them.
I mean, I'm really interested, to be honest with you, I'm really interested in trying them all and just seeing which one really
you
sort of...
You can delete first. I mean, sorry. Sorry.
For example, I never really appreciated Thief until we got Daredevil. And I was really against Thief getting Rifle. I didn't love that idea of stealth and all that. But Rifle looks really good. It looks really fun.
Have you looked at the abilities?
I haven't really dissected a lot of...
I did last night.
All the tooltips and
God.
Stuff.
It is...
Just the idea of it and the play style just looks really fun.
It's completely different. It's completely different. Like, you literally... Like, you can have... on the 5th skill now, people can correct me because it was a very short time and it was a 1 a.m. But basically, you get so there's no dodge. So the dodge mechanic change has been given to Mirage and I guess maybe another class. But you basically get your 2 dodges, right? Normal dodge. 5th skill on rifle, you kneel down. So you get through 1 to 4, you pretty much get another option in what those abilities do. So you've got your non-kneeling stance, which is more mobile, and your kneeling stance, which is more, more in stance, like you have to stay in that kind of position or in a very small area. It's not very mobile. And you haven't got a steal. Your steal is technically your mark, and you build up. What's the
malice? I think it's called
malice. Is it malice? Something like that.
I think so.
Something like that. And basically, the more you gain, the more you can do damage to a target. But there's some really big burst skills, which makes you feel like a proper sniper, which is cool as hell. That was close. And like through your traits, though, you kneel down, you can change it so you can go into cover. So your cover, you stealth, and it's like a 3 or 5 second stealth. I can't remember, which is very cool. But also, you can do things like if you get revealed, you can cancel that reveal. Stat on you, and you can re-stealth. But there's that new kind of mechanic they've got with the is it the ammo, where you can have 2 stacks of something. You've got really low cooldown, and every 45 seconds you get that ammo back, which is, I'm trying to explain it. It would take a longer to explain in really, really simple terms. I hope that came through and that made sense. It took me a while to grasp it, but it's like. And that mechanic is actually on quite a few classes. There's actually quite a few new mechanics in the elite specialization.
Yeah.
It's not like Heart of Thorns completely, where it's just like, essentially, just adding another elite spec. And there were new mechanics, of course, in themselves. But there are like barriers and ammo and loads of intricate things where you're like, wow, they're really adding to this. This is kind of, there are some new animations.
They're really changing a lot of stuff.
It's crazy.
Like, Heart of Thorns coming had a huge balance change, because that was when they introduced the specializations and stuff. But this is adding so many new little mechanics and like the fact that they're going back to core specializations and adding stuff like the barrier into old skills and adding stuff like the kind of new ammo mechanic and stuff. It's going to really change everything up. It's going to be really cool.
What did you want, Ink? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was like,
so and Hollow-Smith as well. I've never been a big engineer fan, but Hollow-Smith
it looks really cool. So cool.
The double pistol Hollow and the mace sword that you can, all the holograms that you can make, and the heat mechanic itself, which I don't fully understand just yet, but
I can tell you now if you want.
That whole thing,
beautiful.
It just seems really fun and really interesting. One of the things that attracted me to Revenant initially and to Herald was this idea of managing and playing with your energy bar. What is it actually called?
Yeah, it's an energy bar.
My brain's not working, but you guys understand what I'm saying. And so Hollow-Smith has a similar sort of thing, right? You need to manage your heat and to get the most out of the class, and that to me is exciting. To me, that's exciting gameplay, and that's fun.
And you have to manage between doing damage and losing HP as well.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's like cool, man.
You go into this, so what it is you get the elite skill, you get an elite toolbelt skill. So some engineers are having this issue where they, if I have an elite, say, I've got stealth gyro, I can reveal enemies. That's my 5th toolbelt skill, right? If I have an elite ability now and I want to be a Hollow-Smith, I can't have that elite, on my toolbelt skill because I have to have Photon Forge to switch into Photon Forge. So like it replaces that elite toolbelt skill. So some people are getting a little bit aggro about that. When they realize what Photon Forge is, they won't give a crap about that because almost. I'm really trying here. I was doing so well. And that's just my excitement. That's why I swear.
Yeah.
But my excitement that's how it comes out. And probably not the best way.
You're good.
But if it helps, when I've been a therapist, I swear at my clients as well. So with them,
Nice.
it's a different way of doing it, but it's interesting. It works, funnily enough. But anyway, basically, so you go into this Photon Forge, you get 5 new abilities, and they're not really, as far as I know, they're not really relative to what you've got in your hands at the time.
Kind of like a shroud.
Yeah.
You create different
It
weapons
is
out of the
very
light.
like
You can have like light pistols, light hammer,
Exactly.
light sword. Like it's
So cool.
yeah, it's really
It is
cool.
very cool, and there's this, but
It's kind of like going into celestial form, where you get the whole new
Yes.
bar.
Exactly, like Shroud, like Celestial.
Right.
And the pistol's ability is really powerful. Like they get access to burning quite a lot, and it's like 8 stacks of burning. Like this ability is a burst ability. It's ridiculous, and it's just like the little utilities as well, like the arena. Quite cool. Like you can get a fair bit of stability and stuff. But the mechanic, the real crux of it is the mechanic, like you say, the overheating and stuff. But you need to manage that, and there are traits where you can increase it from like 100 to 150, but also you've got to think of percentages and numbers in that as well. So like
Wow.
you can do more damage if you hit over 50%, 75%, and if you reach 100%.
Right.
But you can also use the facts. So when you overheat, you take damage, and then you get a dots of damage. But in the traits in the Grandmaster, you can actually use that damage that you would take and expend it onto other people, and you only take the dot of the damage that affects you. So you the dot, basically you lose up to 40% health. It's not a fall down the thing. You lose maybe you could lose up to 50% health.
As if
basically,
NG
you
wasn't
can throw that
complicated
up.
enough, right?
Yeah, well, I mean that's the kind of players we are, I guess. But
It's interesting.
but
I
it's-
wonder how are they going to make the traits, because that trait that kind of negates that explosion damage. It feels like that's going to be one of those traits that everyone always runs, and it's like,
Right.
in
Yeah.
PvP,
yeah,
because it's just a part of your burst for sure.
But, like,
and
you're
it would potentially be that for raiding as well.
they
I
really
would
have to
guess.
make sure the other
don't
ones,
know.
the other options are really good to make sure people actually do.
They
But
are
I
quite good.
really, I like
Yeah.
the concept of that kind of. There's not really any classes that do this right now, where there's that high risk, high reward thing of, you can play really bursty and have be really glassy and die quickly, but this is kind of different. This is like a mechanic you have to manage, where
Yeah.
you're reaping the rewards, but if you screw up, then you're taking a huge chunk of
I
damage.
like
think
how
that's
Corvus
really
is still
interesting.
talking about Reaper. He's just like reaping the rewards. It's like I miss it so much.
I do.
I miss it. It is really good.
But I don't know.
It's-
We didn't even talk about things like Weaver. They get so many skills that's
Weaver
interesting
is
to me.
ridiculous.
It's so good though. How
So
good is it?
overpowered.
It's really powerful. I
It
mean, I
seems
wrote
overpowered
notes
anyway.
down.
Maybe they'll
Last night I wrote notes down, and the first thing I wrote was OP tank. And I was just like, OP tank healer. The sword is really good. Like the sword is really good. But the thing is like it in a way it does bring it into balance in different places. Like if you want to use the sword, you have to be up close and personal.
Yeah,
And as a
that's
tank
true.
and healer in Guild Wars 2 and like PvP and World War, that might not be useful. So I think there's going to be different options for different game modes with real options for different weapon sets. I actually think that some of these elite specializations you're not going to see in PvP because of what they are and what they do. I think this is one of them you will see in PvP. Welcome
Yeah, no,
back, Dagger
definitely.
Dagger Elementalist. As we were saying many times over and over again last night, where you can basically kill someone and heal and be completely fine. And it's
so versatile, but I think that's why Elementalist is always in the meta, really, because it is so versatile. And even if its damage gets nerfed, well, then it's just there as a
doesn't
support.
even matter.
Yeah, it can do so much.
I mean, even if it's like really powerful or it seems powerful, there are things that can maybe counter it that that we haven't thought about. Like there's awesome stuff with Spellbreaker. Now I went over that again last night, and with Spellbreaker I was like, I think I put a little clip on Twitter. I think from my stream, and I said basically it removes your boons and kicks your ass.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
It seems
that's
really
basically what
strong. I think
And
I've
it
seen
was
and
like-
I've seen a lot of people talk about that, saying that it's not really going to see much action in PvE necessarily, because of the nature of boon stripping and stuff not really having that much of a place in PvE. But in
Good on Veil
PvP,
Guardian.
It's gonna, yeah.
That was when he just spelled breaker, boys. It was like,
But in
where's the
PvP, like that's gonna be insanely strong.
boon
The
corrupting
elite
and
skill is
everything.
just crazy. You know, you just put that down on a point and you're fine. You know, just
You
hang on.
blinded everyone anyway by the animation,
Yeah.
so that's destroyed everyone's hope and dreams. But yeah, it is nice. Like there is issues. There is a lot of issues for me with animations.
There are.
I've heard
But I think we
that.
saw a similar thing in Heart of Thorn. I don't know. I can't remember any specific ones being toned down, but I remember people saying the same thing with Heart of Thorns, where some of the skill effects are a bit intrusive. They're really.
We
They're
gave
these new elite
direct
specs are
feedback
very
on that.
flashy. Yeah.
We gave direct feedback on that, and they did go off of that in terms of PvP, in terms of toning stuff.
I think
down.
it's
Like, there
possible
was
in
a lot of that.
PvP stuff might be toned down a little
Because
bit.
it's already quite a common complaint people have about Guild Wars.
Yeah.
You know, every
There's an
PvP
option in
stream you
the
watch,
settings
you
as
know.
well to like tone down the
Tone it
skill
down.
effects too.
I'm all for it. I'm all
Yeah,
for
I don't
it.
really
I
care.
miss,
Oh, I'm all
uh,
for flashiness. I mean,
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I can remember in the beta events when you would set a creature on fire, it would be a bonfire like that would reach in the sky.
It's like old meteor shower and stuff.
They were like,
it
"Oh
was so
well,
intense.
that's a bit unintended. The deer's not supposed to have a 7-foot bonfire attached to it."
Yeah, that was hilarious. I remember that. This is
I'm all for
kind of
that.
Happens. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
I know what you
I
mean.
like the flashiness of it. I do like that of Guild Wars 2, but in a technical sense, and in if you want to play well in PvP. But you know, I think the general sense is that ArenaNet are moving away from PvP and World v World a lot more, and there is more of a focus on PvE. That doesn't mean that they're not focused on it whatsoever, because we just had our X pack, which I keep saying to people. Like, people are always saying, "Oh, there's no new features and all stuff," and I'm guys, and no offense to anyone that was involved in Stronghold, but I was like, Heart of Thorns had Stronghold. That was what we got, guys. I mean, this time we don't get it. Like,
Stronghold didn't. I think Stronghold was interesting. It really didn't have to go that way. It just.
It was just like, it didn't have to go that way.
Dude, I love Stronghold, man. It's so fun.
Yeah,
but it just
so did I.
no one played it, and it's not ArenaNet's fault. I don't think there was many design flaws with it. I get the whole it's just. Why are we fighting an NPC? It's supposed to be PvP, but we're
They
doing
tried to be a
PvE. But it's like,
they tried to do something then that's not them. That's the problem. That was the problem. They tried to
I
do
don't know. It
something
was
that wasn't.
cool, and it had the opportunity to have its own unique meta as well. You know, about supporting the Lord and all this stuff, pushing differently. Like it could have been really cool. I just don't think it.
Yeah.
And I know people tried. I know you tried to try and support it.
Oh god,
you
I was
know.
well hyped for it. I was excited because I had something different. Yeah.
I guess just the player base, but I don't really understand what the player base wants. You know, I play PvP a lot, but I don't really understand what people want. Is it just another conquest map?
Yeah,
But we've already had stuff like the gladiators one, and
they're
you know,
not great. They're
they're
not.
not.
the best.
I think a good deal of people would rather just go into an arena and kill each other. Like, it is.
I mean,
what
you
it
got
is, but-
2v2s now for that. I mean, people can 2v2. I
Yeah,
think
but
they
they're not
need
going to be.
They can't rank up in it or anything.
They don't
just-
really have.
it's-
They don't have current plans to really support 2v2 a whole lot.
They should change
Like as
that.
far as queue and stuff. I think they should too. I think there's a lot.
They should
of
have had
potential there,
separate
but-
kind of leagues for Stronghold, and dueling would be so cool to watch, man. And 2v2s as well. Like, it would just be so. I don't know. I would watch an official stream. You know, like a wee
They
tournament
want to.
thing.
They want to go to more community.
Yeah, and the monthlies
that's
and
why
stuff.
we've-
It's cool.
That's why we've got our tournaments in, like, which are back in September, and we're going to start to do 2v2s as well. So there is that. I think genuinely they're
fun.
going in that direction of PvE, more PvE, which, you know, in a way, like, you know, the expansion for me specifically, is a lot more than just PvP for me.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy the game generally, not just PvP. So the guys who are just into that, and it is mainly the elite specializations. I'm not gonna lie, like, that's the thing I'm most excited for.
But
because I'm a PvP.
but it's like the most important thing in PvP. New skills and new
Exactly.
abilities.
right, and
new
that is what
builds.
they're getting. Yeah.
Like that's and they
meta.
are getting that.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and it's like,
fair enough.
it's a major thing, like meta, you know, new builds, and that is a really massive thing. Like, having a new map is cool, but it's not as cool as having like so many new abilities and working out with your community what you can do. I do wish that people would maybe think about that more than moaning about it, but hey ho, Mario. We all have
We've had a
those fun
bunch,
times.
like since Heart of Thorns, we've had, you know, a couple new PvP maps come in. We've had metas change with balance patches like normal. Now we're getting, I just don't understand. It's the same with World v World. I don't really understand what anyone wants there.
The world versus world and PvP stuff comes, I think, between expansions because they can't lock it behind the expansion. So why list it as an expansion feature when everybody gets it anyway?
Yeah, people will complain, P to win, you need to buy the expansion to do anything. But then when they don't have anything because of that reason, everyone says, oh, this is just a PvE expansion. No, they don't think about us players. And it's, dude, come on.
To be fair, until recently, World vs. World hadn't seen any real updates in quite some time. Now that tide is changing, thankfully, because they got a feature pack, which really was just a reward addition, and that still needs some balancing, in my opinion. But they're also now getting legendary armor come Tuesday, and they're getting gliding come Tuesday if you own Heart of Thorns. And structured PvP is getting legendary armor. So like these things are coming. They're just coming outside of the regular cadence of an expansion. And the same is true for raids. You know, a lot of people are saying, "Where's the raids? How come you didn't show off raids?" I think that they should have had something prepared, perhaps, for the announcement. But again, that stuff develops outside of your normal living story. What is it called? Living World or Living Story? Living Story, Living World. All that stuff happens outside of Living World, and it's released when it's ready. Fractals and raids, PvP, and World vs. World. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I do understand what players are saying there, and they you know, when the big announcement really is like, you know, look at all this open world PvE stuff you can do. They're like, well, where's the stuff for me? I'm a World vs. World player. I'm a structured PvP player. I only want to raid or fractal or whatever. You know, they want to. Where's my stuff? You know, and unfortunately,
heaven forbid that people look outside themselves. I mean, you know,
fair enough. Fair enough. But you know, people are always excited about like what's in it for me.
No, and, I have the same wish. I have the same wish that people think about other people. I have the same absolute desire as we all probably do. But unfortunately.
It's not how people work.
I don't want to sound really morbid, but that's just not the way the world is as well. Sometimes, you know, we all still have. We're all selfish in one way, shape, or form. It's just that there's different levels of selfishness, because we have an ego and we are people, and we have to think about.
I think they just wanted to ride the hype. They, oh my god, everybody's getting all hyped up for Heart of Thorns or Path of Fire.
Heart of Thorns.
I swear to God, I cannot remember the name Path of Fire.
I know, I can't either. That's actually quite interesting.
And it's almost too simple. It's almost too simple. I keep wanting to, I don't know, say something more complicated. But either way, it's like, I mean, people saying, where's our fractal? Well, it came last week. You got your fractal. You don't have to wait until the expansion, you know? And the PvP stuff and the World vs. World stuff, or, you know, those updates are coming. And I think in the future, again, people are going to learn. People have to unlearn what happened with Heart of Thorns. And learn how ArenaNet's going to handle stuff going forward into the future. And either way, everyone's getting the elite specializations. That's coming for every game mode. You know, if you buy Path of Fire, you get those elite.
And that's such a core change to everything.
Right. Yeah.
It's one of the biggest things. It's one of the most awesome things. Like coming up with a brand new specialization and just like the new mechanics. And because it's not just like, you know, it's not like engineer gets a sword. Let's think up some new stuff for it. It's like
it's a new mechanical change.
Like the theme of an engineer, like Photon Forge. I'm in Tron or something. You know, those little things that link you to memories, that really link you to your character and link you to something in the game, are really important. Like the maps can be nice and everything else, but if you can't link to your character inside a world, like how can you be immersed in something? So you have to. That's how important elite specializations are, and characters and
this
story and things like that.
This is already more than we'd get in another MMO. You know, in terms of classes and stuff. Usually there's a new race or a new class or something, and that's one. We're essentially getting 9 kind of revamps of the classes, and it's not one brand new class, but it's probably more skills and more new mechanics and more everything else than if they did add that brand new race and class.
Oh man, if you count,
it's not just. You're right. It's not just getting. it's not just getting new skills. It's you're changing some of the core mechanics for these classes, or giving them abilities that they didn't have before completely. I mean, Firebrand is going to be so complicated. Guardian and Dragon Hunter are so, like, they're straightforward, they're simple, the rotations are not complicated, they do what they do. This is going to add so much complication and I mean, basically, tomes are basically like hits and mantras with these recharges and how they're reworking how mantras work. It's very complicated, and so I'm
What is the essence of it? Like, if you could, again, like, because I've got, I haven't gone over these in depth, so, like, legitimately, no, I really am becoming, I'm living in America, and I keep forgetting all these phrases. At least I didn't say legit, so okay. Legit. One day we'll get there. But like, if you could describe like Firebrand in like a minute or so, like what would be the thing you're most excited about? Why is it complicated? Like, is it like the tomes on utilities?
It's mostly the tomes, yeah. The tomes, it changes your skill bar. Your virtues are now these 3 tomes, and just as your virtues are kind of like it's like damage, healing, and protection, the tomes, you go into your tome stance, whatever you want to call it, and you get a completely new 1 through 5 that, if you go into tome 1, then you get more damage skills. If you go into tome 2, it's healing skills, tome 3 protection skills, and then they have
it's like cuts.
It's kind of like kits, so so it's learning those skill bars. It's kind of like they brought back the Guardian used to have tomes, 2 tome elite skills, and when you summoned those, you got a new skill bar. So they definitely took inspiration from that and brought those back. You have the 3 tomes. You have so many charges. Now it's not timed, so you don't. When you go into it, if you don't use any skills, you just stay in that tome until you use your pages, which are your charges, which is how many skills you can use. And then you go out of that, the tome goes on recharge or cooldown. And if you want to use other tomes, you can. If you want to stay out of tomes, you can. So it's really a really interesting system.
Sounds
intense. What did it feel like, though? Was it like, does it feel so you go into the tome, what do you like pull out? But I haven't watched, I'm literally, when I go through these things, I don't want to know anything until I go through them, but this is why, so I don't know anything, but it's fine to tell me now because I'm asking. But like, do you pull out a book and is there like an animation or something?
There's beautiful animations, and that's one for me. I like the flashiness. I like visual effects, so it's very flashy. You literally have like ghostly pages that are like circling your character when you have a tome out, and there's a tome like floating above you, and you're like casting from the tome.
There is a caveat though, Jebro. Every time you use a tome skill, you need to have it eats a tome of knowledge, so you're limited on how many skills you can actually do.
I'm alright, mate.
Like veteran players, it'll be okay, but if you're a new player, I mean, you're like every couple of days. So
I have so many. And what was the?
There we go. In the promo video for it, actually, I thought it was cool that the character had the Flame Seeker prophecies, like the shield. So like I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And the axe's abilities, would you enjoy them as well? Were they quite? Do you like those?
Yeah. Like I'm happy they got an axe. I like the abilities. The second puts like this giant symbol on the ground with like Crichton lettering and lore on it. It's really cool. All of the elite specs actually are this time around are much more based in the lore. The more you look into them, the more you can see the connection to the desert, to Alona. I wanted to talk about that. Yeah, you can really see it in the trailers that they put up on the Guild Wars 2 YouTube channel with that awesome narration, behind it. So good. Like the warriors have, daggers to represent the broken weapons of the sun spears, and and even the titles, the Scourge and the Firebrand, like it all has to do with lore. And there's actually NPCs in the new maps who will tell you like the story behind the elite specs. So they really connected them to the story and the lore in the area this time. Really cool.
I'm a little disappointed with the name Firebrand, though. I mean, in Heart of Thorns, we got Dragon Hunter, which was amazing because we hunt dragons.
Yeah, it was so good.
But in Crystal Desert, I mean, Firebrand, where is God Hunter or Balthazar Hunter? I mean, that's what
Yeah,
I'm really sure
Balthazar
they're called.
Hunter. That they missed the boat.
Fire
We
Hunter.
didn't want to be
Fire
just
Hunter
a
would have been
hunter
even better.
every time.
Jeez.
Dragon
Like,
Hunter, God Hunter.
And if you've got
Firebrand is cool, I guess, but
It kind of fits in with what you're doing, though.
It's not
'cause you're
Balthazar.
branding someone
Yeah,
with-
I didn't know what Firebrand meant. I was like, where did this name come from? They're like, oh, well, it's kind of like a lore master. I'm like, why didn't you call it lore master? That sounds much cooler to
It
me,
does
anyway.
Oh, that's true. Oh, master.
Firebrand seems a bit weird, right? Because we're chasing Balthazar, the god of fire, and
I
we're
think
in
it's because
Bran.
they do mainly.
Yeah,
first
that's why I keep
Heart.
saying Dragon Brand accidentally because Dragon Hunter. I
Oh,
put Dragon
yeah.
Hunter and Firebrand. I'm like, not a Dragon Brand. That's actually
Dragon
a thing.
Brand.
That's like, I'm not a minion
Oh,
of
isn't-
Kralkatorrik.
I think Firebrand is kind of like a little bit of a meme name as well for Guardians because their main condition is burning. So I think
Yeah.
I'm kind of
It
like
has to be,
Firebrand
just
is
like
a bit of a
every-
meme.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
What else would they be called? It's like fire something. It's
Yeah,
called
it
burning,
was
and it's
another. I mean,
someone-
when I first heard Dragon Hunter, I was like, "What is that name?" You know, and
Yeah,
I kind of did the same
I
thing for Firebrand. I kind of went, "What?" But I'll learn
A
to love it.
firebrand is a piece of burning wood. So there you go, Guardian. Still fit.
I guess the one with burning and
I mean, you
books
could take that any way you
paper,
want it.
which is-
It's a shame that you didn't get a wood stick on fire as your weapon, but
Yeah, so we already had
They've
Torch.
They've
So.
already got Torch, yeah.
Yeah.
they already have torch. That's fair. But torch, you could.
They so
Juggle
should have had
torches.
Torch.
Torches are good, yeah.
Then you just burn all
Yeah,
the books.
okay.
Well, they're kind of like ghostly tomes, so.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Not real
and
books.
mantras. So not only do you have the tomes going on the left side and all your your quote unquote kits with charges, but on the
Yeah.
on your right side you've got a full bar of mantras. And
It's weird.
Yeah,
mantras.
it's crazy.
Because mantras aren't that good. You know, core mantras and
I think they're reworking how mantras work.
I hope
in
so.
the
'Cause
game.
they were very. I think they were really underused. Actually, like you might take one for a stun or something, but
And the mechanic that they're adding with it is like you have these charges and you have this white bar that like is your recharge that goes around the skill, and you have a little number that shows you how many like charges of it you have, and if you don't use them all it refills really quickly, and if you do use them all, not only do you get like a stronger skill as the third one, but then it goes on a really long cooldown and then you have to charge the mantra again. So there's a lot of management
yeah, I
in
like
the,
that.
the new
though.
mantras,
Code
which is
management.
it's a cool system. I like it.
That's gonna be cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Inks went over the one that I wanted to do.
Well, Hollowsmith.
So, I want to be like I'm gonna be a Hollowsmith. Like, we kind of talked about it. Like Hollowsmith just looks cool as well, right? I mean, I am turning into a, I don't know, it's not really a
It's
hologram. is it?
very
It's
very
like-
flashy. You are kind of
Yeah.
like a hologram. It's crazy.
Like Gem.
I'm excited for engineers to play with that.
creating. Someone can explain. Said like it's like Green Lantern or something, you know? Like
Yes,
Yeah,
creating
totally.
Sort of.
These are
more
these
like-
things out of nowhere.
It's more like Gem and the holograms, but yeah, Green Lantern works. too.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean, we've
surprisingly excited for Renegade. And I'm
Yeah,
not
I
a
did.
Revenant or a Herald player, and it just feels. it
Shame
looks-
on you.
I think it's because Revenant was kind of skimmed. Obviously, it came later, so that it was the Revenant and the Herald at the same time. So there wasn't any novelty. Everyone was just a Herald, and that was kind of it. I've not seen anything about this really. I'm not sure how much it's changed mechanically. I feel the concept of the Revenant is good and fun, but the Herald didn't really add anything. It just you press F2 to get loads of.
It was about
health
boons,
buffs.
right?
How dare
Yeah.
you? It was a complicated
cool.
class
Yeah, you
with
press
complicated
F2 whenever it's
people.
off cooldown.
in a time of civility.
Don't need to
Everything
worry
else
about
is just
healing.
core Revenant,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I really like the
Herald
theme.
was almost cool, Revenant. Yeah.
I love the
like
animations
it.
and stuff of the new one, but I'm curious to see how much mechanically it actually changes.
Yeah, we'll see. Rev is one of the ones that I'm sort of on the fence about, only because I feel like shortbow is actually a great weapon for Revenant, but I worry about how much synergy it's going to have with Malix, because
It's
what is the
interesting.
Rev one called? Renegade? Renegade is going to be like a Conti spec for the most part.
Yeah.
It feels like
Right.
it's supposed to be, I think, but we'll see.
Short bow predominantly is Condi, I guess, right?
Usually, yeah.
most classes. Ranger.
I mean,
So-
at the very least, the animations look really cool. Opening a portal of arrows.
Yeah.
It looks really, really
Yes,
cool, yeah.
it's
That
very
kind of
flashy.
Like that's very relevant to the class, right? I mean, yeah, coming from the mist and then suddenly there's these arrows that come out and you're just like, okay, cheers, mate. You're like,
It's
you've got
cool.
these people on your side or something somewhere else, or this force which is just able to help you out. I mean, it must feel fairly godlike in a way.
Yeah,
but it's like,
especially
you know,
I don't know. I really like the theme of it and the effects and stuff. So I really hope that I just hope it's interesting to play. Like, okay, you get weapon swap and then you get the legend swap and stuff, but that was a lot easier to manage than I was expecting. When I first heard of the Revenant, I was like, "Whoa, it's gonna be so intense! Everything flipping over all the time and loads of cool stuff." But actually, it's kind of easy
Not
to
that
do and wasn't that interesting. I mean, it's fun. I still really like Rev, but it just I want something deeper. You know, give it some cool F1, 2, 3 skills or something.
And Soul Beast has the potential to be extremely powerful.
Mm.
The thing that excited me about Soul Beast mostly, and this has come because of the World vs. World I've been playing. So Rangers in World vs. World are a fairly underwhelming class. They're not overly strong, and one of the there's many downsides, but one of the downsides to Ranger in World vs. World is their pet. When you meet another Zerg or when you start getting into fights that aren't 1v1 or 2v1s, your pet dies instantly. Basically taking away that utility that the Ranger sort of relies on to a certain extent. And so the fact that Soul Beast will do away with that has the potential to be really good for World vs. World Rangers. And so that sort of excites me about the potential that exists.
so long ago.
Especially
right?
because their stats are split as well between them, aren't they? They have like, I think that's how it works. Like it's like the amount of power or whatever that a ranger has is like kind of chopped up because the pet takes some of it or something like that, or it's underpowered because of the pet. So I think taking away that as well by being able to consume, your pet and maybe your stats will get boosted as well as having access to these other skills.
Because it's like, but I think the skills were balanced around also having the pet as something, damage wise, but also,
just seems
that
really
is
inconsistent.
Right, a little bit, yeah,
F1's
certainly.
It's like their F1 skill anyway for anything, when you get some kind of bonus, I suppose, in a way. So, I mean, it wasn't like the stats went to the pet a lot, but
Yeah, I don't think it was very.
still like they weren't really beneficial. I mean, if they're going to give you something in World v World, like Ink says, they just die. So you don't get stealth, you don't get stability, you don't get regeneration, you don't get might if you use a heal. Depending on what your traits are, you're not going to be able to get any benefit. So it's almost like you're walking around with a corpse, just kind of dragging this dead thing around, and you're just like, this is not helping me at all. It's actually kind of weighing me down. It's like,
We're just going for a walk. Come on, Bear, you're so heavy.
And you
Lose
can't
some weight, damn it.
You're literally trying to carry this thing, and it's not benefiting you at all. So you might as well just get rid of it. And now they have. It's like you're eating. What's the animation? Is it just that it just
it kind of dematerializes in like this green like naturey stuff
You got a
and
knife and a fork, and you just go to town.
I was gonna say, you get a little, pull out the table, get the tablecloth out, and you just like got this massive napkin on, and you're just like, in the middle of one, you're just like, that would have been hilarious.
Cannibalize your to gain health.
Is it like a permanent swap, or does it work like Celestial Avatar or Shroud? Does it drain, or can you kind of just swap
I don't think
between
it
the
drains. I think.
No, you can go in and out of it, and it's like a stance.
two? Right.
Right.
Sort of a stance.
And
So
that's
why
the
would you ever
utilities
not
they're
do
getting
it?
as well are stances.
Well, I think there's again, I haven't looked into the deep analysis of this, so I don't want to say something that is that's just wrong. So I can't exactly tell you.
Say it.
I can't exactly tell you why you want to be inside and out of it. I'm sure that there's perks for being in and perks for being outside of it. So
Yeah.
Maybe gain might on swapping or something.
I mean,
like
in
that.
PvP, pets are useful because
Right.
they automatically
However,
do stuff which you can't actually predict. So
if you take like a smoke scale, then you get like that revenant ability.
I hate
And
those.
Rangers become like a mini revenant sort of.
Yeah.
Could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's like your first skill, like one of your skills, like your F keys become one of them's based on the pet, the unique pet that you have, and then like another one's based on like the family that it's in. So then there's like less total of those. So you kind of can decide which combination of extra skills you get.
Okay, so it's not skill per pet. It's some of them are family.
I think the
rather than
first one
individual.
is per pet, and I think the second one is per family.
I wonder
Oh
if
wow,
if
that's
they're
a
gonna
lot
be
of new abilities.
are they
Yeah.
gonna be unique skills or are
ton.
they? Just
I don't
like
know if it's the exact
triggering
same
pet
skill. I think it's the unique one might be the pet skill. I don't know
it's
this for
similar
sure.
to
The and then the family I think are new. There's like a new skill for
Kind of
every
makes
pet
it
family.
even less reason to have your pet out though. If
Yeah,
you can control
it's-
their main skill, like why would you ever?
Right.
Maybe to take aggro, but when's that really ever an issue in Guild Wars 2? You know?
Right. Yeah.
So-
I don't know.
Right.
I think there's other benefits that I didn't get a
That
super in depth
is-
look at it.
I got it to it in your video actually. It does look quite cool. Like that sucking up the soul of the...
Yeah, it's like whoosh, it's like they're like sucked up in nature magic and, whoosh,
that
and then they
bear
go
was
in.
delicious.
Yeah. It's like your soul is mine.
Vince just wants to
kind
eat
of
the
like-
bear.
Yeah, I just want to get rid of that damn bear.
But you're like living in Canada. I thought like bears were like the
Yeah, it's like normal food over
country's
there. isn't it?
animal.
Normal food. We just, hey, look, there's a
McDonald's
bear
got
across the street. Get it!
Isn't there more bears than people?
Lunch for everybody.
Oh my god. Those little bears.
You just sit at the Moose Crossing sign waiting. Well, I'm really hungry. I wish you would get here.
So how many new pets are there then?
There's 4.
Is it 2?
Four.
New pets.
Is it 4?
There's more than
What are
4.
they?
I think there's
Is
4. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a jacaranda, an iboga,
There's a deer.
There's a deer.
snake with fangs.
And there's
and
a
the
deer.
snake. Yeah.
It's like a normal deer.
There's some the chuckarunga, the hoochie boobalaka.
I think
then
one is a
the deer.
lion like
and then there's a
creature.
deer. The deer is OP. Bambi, I mean, you know.
No, there's 5.
Is there 5?
Those are 5.
It's a snake with fangs.
Yeah, there's 5.
Yeah, the
Someone
hippo-
posted
It's a
Yeah,
rabbit.
icons.
It's a rabbit. Watch. It's a rabbit. There you go, it's a rabbit.
Okay.
You see
Or is
the
it a
icons
skimmer? It would have been cool if they put
the
the
underwater
mouse
ones.
in there.
Okay.
Wait, does
Oh,
that,
right. Are we
Is
really
that an
counting
underwater
on-
one?
there's no underwater.
I can't tell. I don't know. What is that?
I don't even know
It's
what
like
these
a
things
lion.
represent.
That blue fin thing. Yeah, the lion looks cool. The blue fin thing, I wonder if that's gonna be like
That
a
looks
sand
like-
shark type
yeah.
thing, or...
Sand shark
Sand
would be cool.
shark. Yeah.
How does that work in the jungle?
Oh.
It just creates things. Don't
Anyway.
analyze it.
The sand mixed into.
Like it
soil.
really matters. You're
When
gonna
I-
eat all of these pets anyway, and you're never gonna see them.
When I'm in Ember
Damn it,
Bay.
dear, you're disappointing. No,
I don't like you. I'm gonna eat you. That's amazing.
Oh, there should
What
be
was
a
the
honey
weapon?
badger.
Yeah, honey badger.
Ranger
Yeah.
gets dagger, so it can be dagger.
Oh, they get main hand. Okay.
yeah, dagger me.
Yeah, same as
Which
warrior.
I've seen
Nice.
some people complain about. They're not overly happy. I don't know. I think dagger
What do they want?
for ranger seems pretty. Well, people like ranged options always, right? They want to see
Yeah.
rifle or they want to see pistol or I don't know. But
It wouldn't
anyway,
fit the theme as much.
Rifle's weird. Like, I
A
mean,
gun-
I guess it makes some
When-
kind of.
If you're being on nature, you don't want a gun.
You can't have an elite spec based on your pet and have like a rifle. You just
Yeah.
You need
that
just like
doesn't make sense.
It has to be more nature oriented.
Yeah.
I've just seen people say like that the main hand dagger looks a bit, I guess looks a bit boring or whatever. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we haven't even played it yet. I haven't.
It's how it
You know,
feels. It's how it feels when
Right.
you play it. And
We'll
even
have to
then,
wait
you
and
can be a
see.
beastmaster and not use dagger. You don't have to. You can use
Sure,
whatever you
yeah.
want. You can use bow.
True.
Look at Condi Druid doesn't normally use staff all the time, so it's like
Warrior daggers look cool. The animation.
The animation
fire
is really
skill.
cool on the
Well, it's
spellbreaker.
like you're carving them a new body.
This,
or
the
something, you know what I mean?
trail behind
So-
the dagger effects are so cool, and there's like there's like a
That's
really
pretty
fast
crazy.
one and like shoots out all of these like little crystals. It's really cool
Yeah.
looking. I like the visuals on it. All of them. ArenaNet did really really well on the visuals, and I think you're right.
That's-
They'll probably end up like toning them down a little bit for PvP.
Mm-hmm.
in different areas.
We've
maybe.
seen more
It
skill
just
splitting
depends.
happen. You know, there's gonna be
Yeah,
a lot of that. I think.
yeah.
Yeah. And that was the only class that got a main hand and an offhand as a whole new set of weapons. Like in a way, like Warrior got a main hand and an offhand. We've never had that before,
Yeah.
have we?
Right.
And
Yeah.
in one X-Pack, where they've got 5 skills, but it's not one weapon, not two-handed weapon. It's 2 off and like main hand offhand. I'll just keep saying man hand offhand just in case you didn't know what I was talking about.
Which some people have said is kind of unfair, but
What?
We
They
can
got
That's the
Torch.
theme they want. That's the theme they wanted.
Torch in Heart of Thorns. They need something, please. They got Torch. That was.
well,
so
I just think,
awful.
and the spec,
It was
and
so
the spec
bad.
just works better with 2 daggers instead of like. If you,
It looks
I mean,
cool.
imagine if they gave them 1 dagger, right? It's I don't know, just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's up front.
Yeah, like
where
yeah,
it's
2
a
skulls.
Rip boons, like ripping boons does damage. Like ripping boons isn't just about I take boons away and you can't do that. Like you're not as strong anymore. It's using that against them. And if you use is it your counter or something, you can do a ton more
Oh
damage.
yeah, that was so cool. That the kind of parry thing. That looks so cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's there is some awesomeness behind it, and I think it counters. There is some things which you can counter, like crap, I can't remember. Just in terms of the amount of boons that are coming out, but there's a lot about boon corruption and interrupting and things like that, and with the elite specs and PvP and World where it really benefits you. And this whole barrier thing, I'm really interested about as well, especially with Elementalist, because you're going to have HP and then you're going to have a barrier on top of this thing, and you've got really awesome heal abilities. You've got shed loads of evades, heals, barriers, shields. This weaving thing where you can weave the second skill, the 2 attunements together is amazing. I mean, that mechanic is beautiful. And then you've got this utility that you can use, so you can use the original 3rd skill anyway. So even if you miss that 3rd skill, you can use it, but you have to, arm this utility. That's how I read that anyway.
I will say,
It's a cool class. I think Weaver is actually probably one of the coolest classes, other than Honest Smith.
I was shocked when I saw Weaver. I just it was kind of like one of those yes, of course, this
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
Elementalist should be able to do this. Like it's gonna be a lot of fun for the.
Mixture of 2 elements. I mean, it's just that's cool.
I'm really
both.
curious to see what they're gonna do with the Elementalist next, because this seems so Elementalist-y.
Where do you go from here?
The only thing they could do, I think, maybe if they just spec into 1 attunement, but then that's
but
taking
think
away the
about-
mechanic so strongly. I don't know.
think about
You can,
Chronomancer,
yeah,
right? Chronomancer was so mesmer,
Yeah.
and then you got Mirage.
So
which is-
mesmer.
So, but now you have Mirage, and Mirage seems like it's going to be interesting in its own aspect away from Chronomancer.
It's cool because this is the 2nd generation of elite specs, so now hopefully the balance means that you're going to be able to choose from 2 per class. And so it's kind of cool that the viable classes now have been doubled. We're going to have 18 options essentially if they manage to balance them right.
And people always say that they're so really, really strong as well. So the more elite specs there are for a class, I guess the better, because
The
at least
better,
you've got
yeah.
more.
Yeah,
you've got
you can
more
balance
strong.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be.
But
I'm not gonna try not to swear, but it's gonna be a festival. That's what I'm gonna say. It's gonna be a festival with a word before that, and you can pick the word. You can pick whatever word you want because it fits. Because it's gonna be crazy. And it's going to be so much different. They're going to have. I'm interested to see what the first balance is going to be before they get to this patch, which I think Nix is going to say, because it's just going to be how they approach that and deal with that in preparation is going to give you a good idea of what the hell is going to happen.
It's cool.
That doesn't mean putting it into chat. Sorry, just in case I'm not asking you to create the phrase.
we're
It's
seeing
gonna be
them
interesting.
with these. We're seeing in the skills and traits now that there's actually kind of drawbacks to these new ones. You know, like we were saying before, the mesmer dodge thing. Like that's actually going to be limiting in terms of trying to get out of AOE's and all that stuff. We're seeing, yeah, but like we're seeing little things. You know, again with the thief, obviously there's no dodge anymore. There's no third dodge anymore, and there's going to be times where you need that. You know, if you're wanting to be as mobile as possible in PvP. Maybe you're gonna run one Daredevil and one Deadeye, but to get the kind of coverage of both, though, you know, because now we're having two, it's not gonna be just a direct upgrade like it was with Heart of Thorns. You know, they're gonna be balanced
Could be
around
role
each other with
changes.
each little niche. You know.
Yeah, it could be role
And
change.
the thing that players sort of need to keep in mind, I can tell the future and I can see what the threads are going to be like. But when I almost called it Path of Flames. When Path of Fire launches,
I keep calling it Path of Exile.
nobody can get their head around the name.
I'm just like, Path of Exile, what?
Yeah.
Expansion?
When it launches, these new elite specs are going to be OP. Like all of them.
Sure.
All of them are going to be super powerful. And then ArenaNet is going to like have to balance and dial them back, right? That is going to happen. And you know, there are going to be flavor of the months for a while because that's just the way, unfortunately, it's just the way it is. That's just the way balance is, right? So just sort of keep that in mind. I know there's going to be a lot of complaints like Weaver is too strong. Oh, you need to nerf it. And this is too strong. And that is too strong. And they're going to overshadow Heart of Thorns elite specializations, at least at first.
It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Except in like certain situations, like you're still going to want to have a Chronomancer probably.
Even
You're
for
still
just
going to want to have
hype.
druids and stuff, but in certain areas they're going to overshadow their predecessors, and so you just got to keep that in mind. It will balance. The balance will never be perfect, obviously, but the hope is that Heart of Thorns elite specializations are fairly equal to. Can't even think of the expansion's name. Path of Fire specializations.
I know.
I just went
So
blank.
weird.
My
I have
mind
the
was like,
same
"What is the
problem
name?"
with it.
Nothing.
I have the
I
same
think
problem
it's
with
just,
it.
I think we've all got the same problem with it. It's just odds, right? I mean, Path of Fire.
You know what's funny, Corvus? In our last GuildGab, where everybody was speculating about the expansion, we were saying the names, and Corvus was like, "I hope it's not like Path of Fire."
I was like,
I
oh,
just-
it's so
Did you
generic.
say that?
Like Heart of Thorns was so cool, but it was like really unique and metaphoric, and like Path of Fire is just really generic.
I
and
died
whatever.
inside. Just like, I
And
hope
then-
it's
and
not.
then- Oh jeez.
You really said the name of the expansion.
He did.
Yeah, I didn't know though.
He did.
I had no idea what it was. It's just
I guess Path of Fire. Oh yeah, because they gave us the letters, right?
the POF.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were speculating on what it would be. It's Peaches
I'm
of
fine with
Fury,
it.
of course.
I'm fine with it, but
Are you though? Corvus is like, camera goes off, and it's just like you hear this noise in the background. I want Path of Fire. Path of Thorns. That's what I should have done.
puff.
Yeah, Path.
Puff. Hot
Yeah,
puff.
but there's loads of stuff. There's loads of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the animations are cool. I think, you know, there's loads of different new mechanics. You can dodge when you kneel in Deadeye as well, which
Yes,
looks
you
really
can.
cool. That looks good, actually. It's like a military kind of role, I guess, or something. It is very cool. I think Deadeye is actually something that I want to try. I don't think I'm still like in PvP. I'm not sure. I think I'm excited because I'm not sure that all the elite specs are going to be used in PvP. They will at first, obviously. I think, you know, there's a possibility that we might not see them be used because of what Corvus was saying.
Well, we've got,
yes.
20, technically 27 classes to choose from now after this comes out, so you're going to see a
that's
wide
right,
range of
yeah.
stuff. Of course, you're
Well,
going to
we
see the
saw-
new stuff everywhere, you know, for a couple
Yeah,
months,
yeah.
but...
Well, it's like Scrapper
sells.
didn't get much use in PvE, but in PvP it was really good. And then I think
Yeah.
we're gonna have the same thing with the Spellbreaker, potentially anyway. So yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of a split
gonna be
between the
interesting.
modes. But
And also, one thing that I thought was interesting was that as they brought in the elite specializations, there's definitely an idea of making it simpler for people to create a build. So they've definitely got, you know, this line does this line does this line does this. So I can go top, middle, bottom. And that's going to be like damage, utility, and maybe support. or maybe those two mix in, and maybe you dip up and down.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more simple to kind of synergize.
It is. I mean, with these trait lines, the new ones, there's a real definitive idea of where you should go, just in whatever game mode you play. Like, this is a support line, this is a damage line. But if you want a bit of survival, you can go here or there. Whereas in Guild Wars, when they launched it, Guild Wars 2, sorry, it was very much all over the place. Whereas now there's more of a definitive route. They're definitely trying to make it simpler for people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is nice. It's impressive. I like some of the new. There's loads of new stuff as well. I mean, they even brought in all the new basic faces and hairstyles, right?
Yeah, we didn't even talk
Oh,
about
man.
the faces.
Oh my god,
The hairstyles are unbelievable.
But they're not new. What? Like, they are new, but you can start from scratch and create.
Right.
Like, it really feels like they want you to create a character from scratch.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They added them to
like,
character creation. Even now, I'm surprised they put them in early. They want people to design their characters.
I do hope that I understand that the Crystal Desert is very human centric.
Yes.
And so I understand the theme that they're going for with a lot of the hairstyles.
I'm an Asura main too, mate. It's all right.
I do wish that they would give all the races a little bit of a
Yeah, it was a shame that it wasn't.
Some faces, some hairstyles that sort of fit the desert or whatever.
I think they still might. My guess is this is like a bonus they threw in because they have these hairstyles and these faces in there for all the NPCs, which are mostly human. Yeah. So it's something just kind of bonus that they threw in. I think maybe they should have given us, like, I hope they give us, we haven't had new hairstyles or new faces in a long time. So I hope they give that for everyone. They maybe should have then, as a bonus, threw in those human hairstyles and faces or something. Yeah. I think they did the order wrong. But, hey, they didn't have to give them to us at all. So
human female is meta anyway, so,
So now human female afro is the new meta. Elementalist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good. It makes sense. Yeah, I mean,
I will never be meta.
You will never be meta.
We have to have a character.
I'm sorry, I'm not giving.
That was a good point. You do have to have a character.
I'm sorry, I'm not giving Strawley an afro. No. Oh. I might make a new character. Well, we have an 80 boost. I might make a sun spear or something.
Maybe like a rainbow colored afro.
Kind of Asian-y faces for Kanto when we go there next expansion as well. Oh, was I not supposed to leak that? Oh,
I mean, that's a long trip from the desert to Kantha, but
you really think
we're gonna fly there on Aurene, dude? Obviously.
So what? So how long was
the never-ending story?
Yes, Aurene.
Falcor.
Yeah. Do you think that there's with like this expansion, and like I genuinely asked this question to Wimsetters like yesterday as well, last night, and I said, because we got started talking about another expansion, like there's an expansion now, and then is there another expansion? What was the shelf life, or what was the life of Guild Wars before they made the next game?
Yeah,
like is it an expansion? Is it a next game? Because that's where my mind's going already. Yeah. Like I'm like, there's an expansion now, and they started working on the expansion, not a long time after Pathfinder.
Right, like a year and a half ago, they started working on Path of Fire. They divided the devs, right? They have a dev team that works on Path of Fire, and then they have a dev team, several dev teams that alternate, and the live team, exactly, that work on Living World. So right now, the live team is working on Season 4. It's probably done pretty much because it's coming out in a couple months.
And this is what's interesting to me is that we obviously had like almost a year. Well, how long was it after Heart of Thorns till we got Season 3?
10 months.
10 months. So quite a long time between that. But we're not gonna have that this time. So do you think we're gonna have just Season 4 then an expansion, or do you think we're gonna have Season 4 and Season 5 before the next one?
I think they're going expansion. I think that's what they're trying to do. That's their cadence. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It'll be a year, right? But then does that mean we're going to have, like...
Might be a little more than a year. They could add more episodes. There's nothing that's saying that every season has to be 6 episodes. True. So if they need more time between the next expansion, it could be 8 episodes.
That would probably line up perfectly actually
Mm-hmm.
with this a similar release time. Yeah,
That would
could be
really
it.
surprise me if they.
I do Guild Wars 3 though. It's weird, right? Because MMOs always last. They last for ages, but
They have the
you know,
potential to.
but the development of stuff, technology and stuff is evolving like crazy
But
fast.
do you think they will wait until they get the sales figures on this X-Pack before they think about making it?
No, no, I think they already
I
have
think
a
they're
business
gonna.
plan.
I think they're just gonna go.
I think they're
for it.
already
Yeah.
working on the next one.
Yeah,
I think they have a
so.
business
Yeah.
plan set, and
Yeah.
like I don't know that the expansion team is working on new expansion stuff just
Yeah.
yet, but
Yeah.
shortly after it launches,
It's
certainly.
in planning,
Right.
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just you have to like a lot of that
When
stuff
we
is
say
planned out ahead of time.
absolutely, what are we saying? Is this something?
It's speculation, but like
Well,
Yeah.
it's speculation, obviously,
Okay,
but I
just
mean,
so you know, people in
Right,
chat.
right.
right?
Yeah, we,
no, I
No.
know everything. There's going to be the next expansion is
This
called.
is
Inks is the
speculation.
new game director. I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
Just
knew
making
this.
yeah,
sure.
obviously, yeah.
His
Do you
real
know what
name is
people
Mike Z.
say? No, people will be like, "Oh, AuroraPeachy went to the offices recently, and she says it's absolutely." And you know what?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
no. They lock
That's why I
everything
wanted
down.
to-
They lock everything
wanted-
down. They're very, very tight-lipped. So
wanted to-
no, I don't know anything for sure.
So I wanted to make
But
sure. Like,
I
so
think-
I don't know.
Guild Wars
I-
3 is
I-
definitely a thing to think about though, because the engine is so old.
Yes.
Graphically, the game, in my opinion, I think season 3 and Heart of Thorns did a good job. You know, they upped the contrast, things were a bit
Yeah.
more detailed and stuff. But I think I don't think we're far off. We could be another couple years off from the game really kind of needing a facelift, or
Model
Uh,
revamp, or
like
It's the
more, like,
engine,
wow.
I think.
So
I
here's
think
the thing
engine is
about
They
biggest
need a new
drawback,
engine.
for sure.
here's the thing about engines.
Yeah, I know. WoW, but I mean,
Right.
not,
Here's-
WoW can afford to do that, and they've
Here's the
still
thing about
revamped
engines,
textures
though.
and models.
It's not that I don't agree, and I would love a new engine for Guild Wars, be it 3 or whatever the case is, right? But even if you take Unreal Engine 3 and you have a team of people working on it, that development alone takes about 5 years.
Yeah.
And in 5 years, a lot changes in not
Yeah.
only the game industry but technology in general. So
Yeah.
by the time you launch, you're
Yeah.
already 5 years behind.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So, and I understand, and that's not saying like you shouldn't do it or you can't do it. Obviously, you can and will in the right circumstances. But it's just that like engine development alone takes a long time. And so, what a lot of companies will do is that they will take an engine they already have and is fairly developed and then just modify it. And that's what they did in
Yeah.
Guild Wars 2. And there's a whole host of problems that come along with that. SWTOR did the same thing. For ones that I
Like
know in
60%
big
of
detail.
your CPU being used.
Yeah, and I get it, right? Like I would love it, right? But yeah, and I know. And now there's Unreal Engine 4. Unreal Engine 3 is just I know what the development time on that one is.
Yeah.
4 is probably similar, but anyway. But that's a lot of time and a lot of man hours and a sizable team to put into reworking the engine. And that's why from Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2, there was a long span of time where they weren't really making content for Guild Wars 1 anymore, and they were just working on modifying an engine. Not even a brand new engine or any of that stuff, but modifying it to what we have today. And certainly there's a lot of unfortunate limitations to the engine we have. A lot of performance problems and so on. And I would love that for Guild Wars 3. But they need to continue producing Guild Wars 2 and be able to work on something like that on the side. You can't just like, well, this is it, guys. No more Guild Wars 2 content. Only living story. We're going to be, we'll see in about 6 years.
Yeah.
Is there a broader question though about gaming in general? And I love discussing like generally about gaming in a general sense. Like if you think about the ethos or the society around gaming, I don't know if that's the right phrase, but in terms of gaming nowadays, right? We get games every day. Like literally, you've got indie games, you've got AAA titles, as streamers, as content creators, especially a variety that Peachy does, and even when I try to do it as well, that there is too much. There is too much to cover. Like you can't always play what you want to play. You can't always do what you want to do. The MMO as a product isn't as successful as it used to be. And that is, I feel like that almost could be a fact in a way. They're not as popular as they used to be. I don't feel like they are as
And that's why when
profitable.
Guild Wars 2 came out, it was innovating the MMO. And they're trying to continue to innovate it with sideways progression, or horizontal progression, with, not doing the typical things that MMOs do.
I mean,
They're trying to evolve.
saying...
You have to get people back into it, though, people understing that.
Yeah, even just the masteries. When Heart of Thorns came out, we were comparing it to like Metroidvania games and stuff. They are pushing the boundaries of what really defines it. But,
and with the combat system as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Away from the tab targeting.
There's people here saying that there's no reason to make Guild Wars 3. I agree, there isn't. There is a reason to adapt it into a different engine. I think there are more pressing things to do that.
I think that would be
and it's the time investment of whether it's more valuable to just transfer Guild Wars 2 to that or focus on something new. But they are pushing the boundaries. I think it could survive forever. Guild Wars 1's still going and people still love to play that game. I am. I mean, there's something exciting about having brand new graphics and a new engine and stuff like that. It's very cosmetic and kind of a shallow
It's
thing.
just like
I agree though that Guild Wars 2 is not dated whatsoever, and especially when you get in game in this new expansion. I mean, it's almost like a different game. The environments are just unbelievable.
No, and you can see that transition just from vanilla maps to the new ones. I don't think it needs that yet. All I'm saying is that a few years down the line, we will be looking at the fact that there are console games that are actually less demanding on components that look 100 times better. I can get better performance out of The Witcher 3 modded than Guild Wars 2 sometimes. And that's kind of crazy. And obviously there's a lot of connection stuff. It's online versus a single player thing, but there is an optimization issue that's been there for 5 years now that people are always talking about. There's gonna come a point where graphically it doesn't hold up as well. I mean, it's just inevitable. Though whether that really means anything, people played Lord of the Rings Online for Christ's sake. Well,
they still do.
Obviously, graphics don't really matter to people that much with MMOs, but I just mean there's going to come a point where, and it might seem kind of like a shallow thing. It's not about visuals; it's mechanical and all this stuff, gameplay stuff. You're right, but graphics are marketable. They're the first thing people notice, and there's games that people don't play based off an art style or based off a thing. It's kind of performance is already like the thing they should have done years ago. That's the reason they should have done this ages ago, because of the performance stuff. But it's gonna become a marketing issue. It's why you don't see adverts and people showing off Lord of the Rings Online because it looks like garbage.
Yeah, it does.
Wow. Well, there's
shots fired.
Lord of the Rings partnership. Done.
They are releasing content.
I love Lord of the Rings Online. I like the concept. A Middle-earth MMO is like a dream for me, but I can't play something that looks like that. I just can't.
I mean, what I want to make sure is that I say is that it's not me saying that they shouldn't make something or they should make something, but there is this logical part in my head, especially when I'm involved in PvP and competitive and seeing that scene grow, seeing the mobile gaming scene grow, and how many people play mobile, use mobile phones and use, tablets and stuff like that. And now competitive gaming is going to mobile phones and different things like that. You've got competitive games on a mobile phone, all these different platforms, and how it's being spread out, and how these people now go from MMOs and they go out to everything else. And it's like, people want things in their hand. They want something, they very quick to get into and that they can play quickly and just, not invest a massive amount of time. I actually think that the way, just personally, I'm not saying Guild Wars 2, I'm saying that the MMO could be, and I'm not sounding down on the situation. I think this is a legitimate fact. Like, that the MMO is slowly being filtered out. And I think what Peachy said about, they have to change the way the game is played and to be able to jump into it and be casual and to not have to play every day and be hardcore is such an important way for them to survive. I still think that in a way MMOs are not dying out, but I think they're on a decline. I really think they are, and that makes me sad because I've been an MMO player since I can remember, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Guild Wars 2 is. But I really do think if you look at MMOs and you look at the amount of MMOs that come out, they're just
it's a matter of there's generally more games out there. And there's, you know, there's only so many people to go around to play those games. There's only so much time.
Well, we've had so many MMOs come out.
But let's keep this focused on Guild Wars 2 for now. We can talk about all we want in the post show. So real quick, just to wrap up the live show, what do you got? What are your biggest predictions for where the story is going to go in Path of Fire? I think we are going to, and this is a big hope as well. There's hopes, and then what you actually think is going to happen. I would say my biggest hope is for like the human gods, like all of them, to just like come back. Whether we team up with them, or it's a big battle between them, or we see a battle between the gods, I don't know. But I want this expansion to be about more than just Balthazar, even though it's going to focus on him. I want to see all the gods. I want to see, I want us to just get that lore back, and the humans to just lose their freaking minds because they see all their gods. And there was even in episode 6, they said there was NPCs that were like, will my god come back? You know, we saw Balthazar. Is Lissa going to come back and visit us? So that's probably my biggest hope. But as far as my biggest prediction, I would say Kuraine is going to have, like, we're going to learn, like, what her role is in all of this. Because she's definitely, like, either replacing, you know, the dead Elder Dragons or something with managing the magic. Kuraine, I think, is going to have a really, really big role.
I have a similar... my biggest hope would be something to do with maybe a kind of pseudo-ascension. Just to kind of pay homage to that whole, you know, the whole Guild Wars 1 stuff. A kind of meet and greet with the gods, but in a way that's not like how we saw Balthazar.
I've got an image in my head of meet and greet.
I saw like the, you know, I said, I think last episode or the one before, about how it was weird seeing Balthazar just kind of was just like a normal dude. You know, obviously he's lost his power, but it was, I want to kind of have an abstract. Yeah, I want to see the gods and have them be these weird abstract kind of.
You want them to be gods.
Yeah. That's the easiest. I don't want them to just be kind of
without being seen.
Yeah, I don't want them to be our size, but I want them to just seem really powerful.
Right.
You know.
So you want him to be a really tall man. That's what you're saying.
You're really tall, Balthazar.
Well, in Asura, like, well, that would be law friendly for an Asura.
I mean, I'm kind of torn all over the place. There's so many questions, and I don't know how many they're actually going to be able to tackle within the scope of just one expansion story, because you need to deal with Kralkatorrik. You're not allowed to kill Kralkatorrik, but you have to submit. You have to subdue him some way without killing them.
Yeah.
Aurene obviously has to play some sort of role, and probably a greater explanation on what that role is, and perhaps grow up a little bit, or increase in size, whatever the case is.
What about
Not too big, because then she'd be a god. You know?
Just forget about Timey for a minute. She'll continue to be an annoyance in my ear. But, I really hate
that. For story instance, man, she's hey, Commander, I can't hear you.
Yeah, she's there, dude. There was also, I noticed in the gameplay video, there was like a...
Sorry.
It's like sunshine kind of shining down, like rays, and you could press F there. It was like an area of the map.
Yeah.
And when you got close to it, you could press F.
On the light.
Like, I think it's like, oh, you got up high, so now you can contact Timey because the signal's weird or something.
Oh, yeah, because she couldn't hear you, and so she's like, get up high so I can hear
Make
you.
it rain every day. Block her out. And then, of course, there's dealing with Balthazar. Are we going to kill him or deal with him within the scope of this expansion? Because I do think the gods are going to return. He makes a comment that says that something to the effect of he's going to kill all of the gods. He's tired of all the nonsense, basically. Yeah. He's going to get powerful enough to kill all of them. Obviously, there's a story there. There's a grudge there that he has against the other gods. He wants to take them out. And so I do think the other gods are going to get involved. But then where does that lead us into Season 4, right? If you deal with Balthazar in the expansion and cap that off, then Season 4 deals with the fallout of that, I guess.
Palawa Joko, I think.
Right, and then how does Palawa Joko
I think
fold into the story, right? Like, there's a lot of players I think his dudes are going to be
kind of sprinkled in. I think it's set. That's probably largely going to just be a setup for Season 4. I think that's if we conclude everything with Balthazar. I don't know whether it's just the kind of length of Heart of Thorn story that makes it seem unlikely to me or something, but it's quite a big thing to deal with, and I hope they dedicate a bit more time to the length of the story. I don't know whether they've said anything about how long.
I think it will. I think I might have asked, like, you know, is this story going to be bigger than Heart of Thorns? And I think I got an answer that they said, well, this, you know, Heart of Thorns was a feature expansion. Path of Fire is a content expansion. So they said there is going to be more story. It's going to be more robust. It's going to be, you know, it's because the Heart of Thorns story was, you know, we did a whole show on that and said how, you know, five of the story chapters were running through the jungle to find your friends. It's like, that's not story, you know, that's not an interesting story.
What do you mean it's not story? Timey leaves little hollow discs all over the place, and you
totally
track down rocks.
You know it's story because
Rox's footprints, yeah. So they said that it's going to be, you know, meatier, a better story.
Have you
done something that was their goal?
Have you done something like before it comes out? Like, did you do this with Heart of Thorns? Like, who's gonna be killed off? Have you got like a little bet going on with anyone saying who you think?
I'm sure we did.
Someone.
I'm sure that we did.
Someone's.
I don't remember.
Who do you think will die this time then? Casimir?
Inks has got
hope,
but
it won't be Timey.
Timey's got to become the new villain.
Oh, wow! I'm so happy.
Season 4 villain. She's gonna become season Scarlet all over again.
I like Timey too much.
Scarlet was like one of my favorite storylines ever.
Timey is too much of a poster child for them. They won't.
Yeah.
Nothing bad will happen to her.
She's little. She's like a kid, isn't she? I don't know.
Yeah, they can't hurt her. She could get kidnapped though.
Maybe Logan's, because we're going after Kalkatoric again. Maybe Logan's gonna like run in and like shield somebody, like redeem himself, and then die. He's gonna protect Ritlock.
Oh, last second.
Last second.
Just about to get like and then Logan jumps in front.
She's not a kid. Timey is not a kid.
Kiss.
She's 17. She's not a kid.
Yeah, but isn't 17 is a kid?
Yeah. Well, in America, right? Because it's 21 when you guys are. Well, yeah, okay.
You're an adult when you're 18.
18 is here.
In this
you get married when you're 16 years.
In this story, she'll be 18 years old.
So there, she could totally die.
She won't. But,
cool.
No, she won't.
She won't.
She won't.
Ink secretly loves Simon.
I think it's gonna be Logan.
Yeah,
they kind of like.
He's got a little picture of her.
Because they kind of like put like they're almost wrapping up Logan's story. Like I know he's like the leader of the pack now, but he like, you know, he said, okay, Queen Jenna's not gonna love me, and he's kind of like settling into who he is. There was that thing where he said like, my body feels different. Ever since like, you know, maybe he'll like morph into like this dragon minion, and then like, you know, but he'll still like have his mind is in there somewhere, and then like you have to fight him. It's gonna be like how Foul Lane like transformed.
Just be in awe randomly somewhere, and it'll just be this undead Logan, and he'll just be going, "Everybody come!" And it's like, it's the only thing he says.
But then at the last second, he still has his mind, and he like jumps in front of someone to protect them and dies. That's
but why would he be? I like the idea. I do
that's like really out there.
Plus Logan dies, so it's like pretty cool. But why would he? I'm not sure why he would be there unless he's in this wee wheelchair, you know, like rolling across the sand.
Well, we've got mounts now. We've got mounts.
That's true.
Now.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, they could make something. I mean, the Asuras are pretty, you know.
I think the other interesting thing is we're gonna get I don't even know if we're gonna get the whole picture, but we'll get a clearer picture on Ritlock. You know, where's he been?
Yes.
You know,
yes.
has he been in jail this whole time?
We were
What
talking
did he
about this.
see
I
in the
remember
mist?
talking about this
In
like
jail.
before Heart of Thorns, you know? Maybe we'll find out about Sahathan, but I remember saying that like halfway through season 2 on GuildGab. So I mean, it's just you can't say with any certainty anymore.
Well, and there's going to be a spot in the Crystal Desert where they fought Kralkatorrik, where Destiny's Edge fought Kralkatorrik. That excites me to see that area.
Yeah,
Hopefully that area is covered. I don't know whether it is or not, but hopefully that area will be covered. There's a spear that Ritlock tried to use to kill Kralkatorrik, but missed due to a situation there. Well, it deflected off. It deflected off of Kralkatorrik's shoulder because of he didn't have enough time to get there and set up due to Snaf being killed and so on. But
rest in peace.
I don't know. Could be cool. There's a lot of cool lore implications, not just for Guild Wars 1 players, but even for Guild Wars 2 players. Glint's destroyed lair, also.
Ooh, yes.
You know, so there's a lot of stuff in the Crystal Desert.
Do you think
that could be
I've
really
often
cool.
thought, like, do you think Snaf's still like hanging out? Because he was in
No,
Kralkatorrik's mind.
they cremated him.
Yeah, but his
mind, though, he's saying.
Do you think his mind could still be active somewhere in some shard of Kralkatorrik's
Revenants are gonna summon him.
That's
That'd be cool,
possible.
man.
Ooh.
It'd be a nice little touch.
That would have been a spoiler. Renegade summons Snaf.
The new elite specialization for Revenant. Snap. Snap.
Oh god.
Snarf. Yeah, it's
Snarf.
snap.
It's the next one.
You'll be able to build golems and destroy
Summon the
things.
Asuras from the mists.
That'd
That's
be cool.
right, yeah.
Like
I
minions.
like that.
Do you think Zoja's gonna be in it?
Undead Asura just running around. Sorry.
I don't think Zoja. No, I think we're like
No.
done with Zoja. There's
So there was an
no
interesting
reason
thing-
really for her to be in
There
it.
was an interesting thing about Zoja recently.
Yeah, Felicia Day.
Somebody, that shaman or something, started a conversation, and somehow Felicia Day got involved, and she had said that if ArenaNet asked her back to do the voice, she would love to do it.
Oh.
So it's
So
obviously a conscious decision, but then people were pointing out maybe she's just expensive. So of course she's
I don't know,
available, but it's gonna
Mm.
cost like, you know, 10
Remember
Yeah.
when she started that, she was like, what was it, the guild and stuff days?
Yeah,
right?
quite
back
small.
in the day where she was quite small compared to where she is
well,
now.
and she was starting a family and so forth. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
so does that mean that, of course, in this expansion, no Zoja? Possibility of no Zoja, right?
Well, yeah, probably. Unless
Yeah.
they changed
Probably
the voice
not.
actor.
Unless they've
Still
replaced her voice
recovering.
actress, which is, I mean, that's a
Well, people were
possibility,
saying maybe
but
she got sick and her voice got screwed up, so she's gonna be all. They could just.
she
replace
can't
it
talk
somehow.
anymore. She just
She's gonna be hanging out.
just
in
does
the
sign
background.
She
language
just
to us.
she gets Timey to talk for her, you know.
Oh,
Tiny
big-
gets her like a little
Even
voice
more
device.
lines. Wow, amazing.
Hmm.
Zoja says,
She just
Pooh
sound like
Bah.
Yoda.
She could put Zoja like in a golem, and the golem like speaks to her. She speaks through the golem.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
God.
Did Zoja really say Poobah? No, I added that myself, Commander.
Did it? You could write for Timey.
Kill me now. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
I know, yeah, he did do a Yoda impression for Soja, yeah. Yoda was
Close
cool.
enough. I'm sorry I don't sound like
Close
Felicia
enough.
Day. My bad.
You need to work it out. You need to work it out.
I guess I'll never land that pivotal role of the Felicia Day voiceover I was gonna do. Damn. Why does Felicia Day sound like Yoda?
I mean, as a
Feel
person who doesn't
Well.
necessarily understand everything that's going in the story, like I like the way I liked the episode before the finale better than the finale of.
We spoke about that last week, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so
Okay.
used to it being months between episodes. We were saying that there were people saying that maybe they should have swapped those two in the order. So that episode 5 was the kind
The
of
big
finale.
finale,
instead.
yeah.
It was still good. It was.
It
still
was
better
good.
than the
Yeah,
others,
both
but
of the episodes.
It's my favorite episode for sure.
Yeah.
Like I jumped into this area and there's a flipping dragon. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, hi.
No,
You know, okay, what are they going to do to really go beyond this? And it's like the trailer for the kind of expansion, and then it was just like, okay, that's cool, but I just was in a massive, there was a dragon there, dude.
Yeah.
And it was massive.
Yeah, I
You know, this-
I agree.
It's
Put it
It was
this
maybe
way.
a bit anticlimactic, but it was
Yeah,
still
yeah,
good, and it got me interested in it. So I think it makes me want to go and research, if I get the time, things from Guild Wars.
Which is why they need those recaps in the story. And they did a decent recap in their presentation on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's. Oh right, okay, yeah.
With even like new footage and stuff. Like they had new angles on everything, and so
It was a full recap of the whole season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was well done.
I've seen that, actually.
Which was nice. It was nice that they put that in there. I liked it a lot, actually. They did a good job of like really recapping it well.
Yeah.
I can't believe we've gone this long without talking about the Choya.
Oh, the Kiwi people,
The
The cactus quaggins.
cacti kiwi cacti.
They've got a T-shirt already. Got a T-shirt on the store, haven't they?
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
But the T-shirts, you
doesn't
gotta have it where they're cut
capture
open,
Is it a
right?
plum?
It doesn't-
That's the special part, is when you kill them, they
Right.
split open and they look like watermelon or kiwi
Melons.
fruit on the inside. It's great.
So good.
That's what makes them awesome.
Yeah.
Almost every enemy I
look.
saw in the desert was like you've got the sand sharks
The
that
Dolgyaks
are
so cool.
down below the
desert
sand, and they
Dolgyaks.
jump up, and the animations of when they jump up are so cool, and you can like start
Oh,
killing
sweet.
them, and the hydras are just unbelievable. And we saw in the trailer there's going to be like ice hydras and fire hydras and lightning hydras. And as you attack them, like their heads come off and their attack patterns change, and their heads are like the worm, the triple head trouble worm that they flop on the ground and they keep attacking you. It's incredible. So the stuff we're gonna see in this expansion is just gonna
It's gonna be
be crazy.
Yeah, there's no more
More
pocket
pockets.
raptors, but there's
Thank
still
God.
giant raptors.
There's gonna be
now.
something
They
else.
do.
You can ride on.
There's
So.
gonna be
We
something
haven't seen
else.
all the
These
maps. They
things.
could do beetles or scarabs or something,
Ooh,
right?
I
yes,
hated
definitely.
those.
Yeah, but the beetles in the jungle were so oh, you can only attack me from
The
the
little
front.
ones,
Little tiny ones are cool.
These
I saw
roller beetles.
in your video as well. There was little wild chickens, and when you got close, they ran away. Stuff like that. I love that stuff, man. Like details.
There's
The
tons of little
desert
details like that.
the prairie dogs, like this.
The
little-
hydras are
Prairie
really cool.
dogs. So cool.
they're
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah. The sand sharks
What were
and
the
the hydras.
What were the snake things? I seen in your
Sand
video.
eels, I think they were called.
Sand
right?
eels, yeah.
Something like
Oh,
that.
sand eels, right? Okay, yeah, sand eels.
Pocket
There you go.
scarabs.
Pocket scarabs.
We need the roller beetles
Pocket
from
sand
Guild Wars 1.
sharks.
Do you remember the sound those things made?
Pocket sand shark.
Oh my god. They were crazy.
I want pocket sand sharks as a pet.
Yeah, that.
Pocket
Imagine
sand
that.
sharks.
Pocket sand
Totally
sharks.
sand sharks. I mean, we have a flopping fish as a mini pet, so they could definitely give us a sand shark as a mini
Yeah,
pet.
I've seen people talk about Jin more because they're from Alona, but also there was I think one of the mounts. Yeah, that would say the Jins created the jackals, right? I think it was Icon that first noticed it. So maybe we'll meet a Jin or hear more of the Jins. That'd be really cool.
I think that-
Perhaps. Desert Largos. Yes.
Yeah, one
Well,
of
we are crazy, like, this is crazy long for the main show, so we're actually going to wrap it up. We'll continue talking about anything and everything in the post-show, but we're going to wrap up the main show here. Please go down into the description and check out all of our links. I'll put our referral links down there when this goes up on YouTube. Everybody who's watching live on Twitch, thank you for watching, and thank you guys so much for being here, and all of you. Thank you, Jebro, for joining us for this episode.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time, guys, for more Guild Wars 2 goodness. Take care, have fun in the demos. We'll see you next time. Bye! Take care.